I'd like to call the meeting of the Plymouth Select Board to order Tuesday, June 28th. And please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Higher chairs. The board has been in executive session since 5:30, and our first order of business is with Representative Matt Moratori.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate your time tonight. First of all, I want to thank you for having me join the agenda and at the top of the agenda. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Chris and Derek and Brad for that. I want to congratulate, is Charlie on? Yeah, Charlie. Select board members, welcome back, John and Charlie. Welcome back. And let me publicly thank you, or congratulate you, Madam Chair, for being the first woman chair since Albert Thompson. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And it's fitting that we are here tonight to honor another heroine here, a woman here in Plymouth. The Massachusetts Commission on the Status of Women has been around since 1998. And every year, and this is the 19th year, they honor a person that's nominated from the communities. There were 116 that were nominated this year. And our own Peg Page was one of the nominees right here from Plymouth. So can you join me, Peg, up here? So the Commonwealth, again, the Commonwealth Status of Women, it's an organization obviously run by women, for women, and it really highlights the women that, are the spirits, the standout, the unsung heroines in our community. And this year, Peg was the nominee from Plymouth, and I'm just going to read a little bit about her. So Peg Page, for those of you that don't know her, is a volunteer. Peg was one of the first to step through the doors and create a vision for the Plymouth Center for the Arts. 8 years later, she became the volunteer president. Volunteer president. Volunteer president. How many presidents do you know that volunteer? Peg leads an organization of 600-plus members and 100-plus volunteers, offering art classes year-round, a beautiful artisan shop, galleries that are open free to the public, and a full schedule of art shows and special events. Peg has also been at the helm throughout a major multi-year renovation that transforms PCA into an ADA accessible building. She applied her tremendous spirits and interpersonal skills to spearhead the $2 million capital campaign that made it all possible. Peg reminds everyone that PCA is a community arts center. She interfaces with the community, peer organizations, local and state leaders, fostering appreciation and support for the belief that cultural experience and the art are essential to vibrant and healthy communities. And on behalf of the Commonwealth, the House of Representatives, I'm here to give you a citation. Be it hereby known that all the Massachusetts House of Representatives offer sincerest congratulations to Margaret Peg Page in recognition of receiving Massachusetts Status of Women's 2022 Commonwealth Heroine Award for your many years of extraordinary leadership and efforts as a volunteer president of Plymouth, it's just hard to believe, of the Plymouth Center for the Arts, ensuring culture and arts continue to be part of our vibrant community and accessible to all. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for good fortune and continuing success in all endeavors. Given this 22nd day of June 2022, signed by the Speaker of the House, Ron Mariano, and yours truly, State Representative Matt Moratori. Congratulations.
First of all, I really am very humbled by this award, and those of us at the award banquet I got to talk to last Wednesday, we all agreed that we don't do this by ourselves. There's so many people that really support us. But one of the board members, Kathy Dunn, has accused me of having a velvet hammer. So I will take that and run with it. But I really love Plymouth. I've lived here since 1979, and the Community Arts Center, you think it's just art on the walls, but it really is a way for so many people to connect. And during COVID, we never stopped. We went virtual, but when people came back, it was amazing to see how much energy and life and enthusiasm are still in this community. It's an amazing community. And when we were going for, and I just want to say one thing, this kind of goes to all of the town meeting members and the board, the select board. When we were going for, we went to town meeting with Bill Cohane for the grant for much of the money for the improvements. We went to all the precinct meetings, and I never thought of it before, and Matt calls me the volunteer president, but all of the select board members in this town are volunteers, as are the selectmen. It's just amazing town, and I just am very honored by this award, and I hope I can live up to it now, Matt, because I've got another year left on my contract there. And it's good pay, and I can take my vacation whenever I want. So thank you very much, everyone.
Congratulations, Peg. And again, thank you to the board for allowing me to do this every year. It's just, we have such a great community. She's right. We have so many people that volunteer in so many different ways. We had a lot of great nominees this year as well, and it's always hard to pick people. So congratulations again, and thank you so much. It's great to see so many familiar faces here tonight. So I'll let you carry on with business.
Thank you, Matt. And you're right, we do have a lot of great people. And next we have one of our great groups for the No Place for Hate Committee. Mr. Platt?
Yeah, that's supposed to be. Are you arranging that?
Oh, okay. Bedna?
Yes, okay. I couldn't hear you. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry.
Good evening, Select Board and citizens of Plymouth. I'm Edna Haywood, the chair of Plymouth No Place for Hate Committee. And tonight, for the 5th year, we're presenting our Outstanding Citizenship Award. This award is different from many excellent scholarships offered throughout the high schools, in that recipients don't have to be seniors, nor do they have to be college-bound. They do, however, have to be active in their community and make a difference in ways that are consistent with our committee's mission, which is described in our website. The specific eligibility requirements are a recipient of the award who will be a student who, in the opinion of the committee, has shown commitment to social justice by challenging discrimination or bias through his or her actions, and/or who actively works to celebrate diversity or to protect the civil rights of all people in our community. Tonight, we honor 3 amazing women. My fellow committee member, Susan Moore, will tell you more about the first one.
Can you hear me? I would like to introduce you to our first recipient of this year's Outstanding Citizenship Award, Brooke Holmes. Of Plymouth North High School. Among her many activities, she is a member of the Plymouth North Equity and Justice Committee, whose goal is to provide a safe environment for students to voice concerns about injustices experienced in school from faculty or from peers. A key part of this for Brooke was helping others to advocate for themselves. For the past 2 years, she has been Plymouth North Student Representative to No Place for Hate Committee. She has worked on the committee's social media posts and has helped to plan and bring to fruition the MLK Breakfast, Transgender Day of Remembrance, and other events. Her passionate participation in many projects has been inspiration to everyone. Brooke runs the Plymouth North High School Intergenerational Debate Club in conjunction with the Center for Active Living. Twice a month, she and other members discuss current events with the town's seniors. She believes that both students and seniors gain from hearing each other's opinions. Students benefit by learning historical context and lived experience from seniors, while seniors benefit from interaction with and new ideas from students. In her spare time, Brooke is a member of the National Honor Society, the Amnesty International Club, and the Environmental Club. According to Miss Megan White, Brooke's guidance counselor, Brooke prides herself in wanting to make a change in the world and to make it a more welcoming, equal, safe, and peaceful place. She currently has an interest in majoring in political science and/or international relations in college, with a possible career goal of government service. She will be attending George Washington University. When asked what motivates her in her activism, Brooke responded, "With everything going on in the world, it is important to begin change at the local level, where action can directly benefit people. Activism and community outreach can make people's lives a bit brighter, knowing that someone is there to provide support." We, and especially me, is very pleased to recognize Brooke Holmes as an outstanding citizen. This is
Thank you, Sue.
The Town of Plymouth No Place for Hate Committee is pleased to present Brooke Holmes Outstanding Citizen Award in recognition of her actions toward making Plymouth a better community for all.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Betsy Connell, and I'm pleased to share that our second recipient of the Plymouth No Place for Hate Outstanding Citizenship Award is Neve Doyle, who is a 2022 graduate of the Rising Tide Charter Public School. Her college and future planning counselor, Isabella Troutmansdorf, said that Neve is bright, thoughtful, passionate, and caring, and has contributed many ideas to support the inclusion and representation of various groups within the school community. Her teachers describe her as highly engaged, really wanting to think about and celebrate different cultures. In courses where she has been able to choose research projects, Neve's focus tends toward the representation of groups from the immigrant experience to representation of race and sexuality in film. Neve was one of the key founding members of Rising Tide's Diversity, Belonging, Inclusion, and Equity Work Group, to which she has given her consistent participation and attention. She says that in the Diversity, Belonging, Inclusion, and Equity Working Group, they've worked to create a welcoming and safe environment for people of all backgrounds. We started a school mural of smaller personal art pieces from the students and created a cultural calendar which highlights different holidays and events of different cultures, religions, etc. Neve was also actively involved in the Language Club, Model United Nations, and student government. Indeed, says Ms. Troutmansdorf, her advisor, all of her activities and many of her elective courses have this distinct focus: culture, representation, and voice. Neve states that her favorite areas of study have been international relations, philosophy, and English. This fall, she'll be heading to Suffolk University, where she plans to major in history. When asked what inspires her activism, Neve responded, "I've found a lot of motivation through educating myself about the communities around me. In school, I've researched and written about the issues many minority groups have faced, both today and in the past, and it's pushed me to further my activism and voice my opinion on a range of topics with the passion and the knowledge needed to do so." So the Plymouth No Place for Hate Committee is very pleased to recognize Neve Doyle as an outstanding citizen.
My name is Barbara Aharoni, and I would like to introduce you to our final recipient of the Outstanding Citizenship Award, Yuna Yi. Yuna is a rising senior at Plymouth North High School. Yuna is a former English learner who, in an effort to make Plymouth North a more welcoming and inclusive place for current English learners, recently found a club called Friends Without Borders. Her vision, according to club advisor Mark Carpenito, was to create a space where students could not only learn about each other's cultures, but more importantly, could become friends. Yuna says that as a former English learner, she felt alienated from a very young age and didn't want others to have that same experience. Yuna's work on inclusion goes well beyond Plymouth's borders. She is enrolled in a virtual internship with other young people around the country, collaborating on ways to stop Asian American and Pacific Islander hate. Yuna says that she has always talked about social justice issues such as racism, but this was a hands-on opportunity to lead and to make a change. She has tutored students internationally in English through virtual peer tutoring agencies with the goal of promoting equity by bridging the access to education gap. She has recently started a local chapter of the organization Dear Asian Youth, which promotes intersectional activism, solidarity, and other marginalized communities, and equality and equity. She is a member of the Plymouth North High School Equity and Justice Committee and was chosen to speak at a Plymouth North High School faculty meeting earlier this year. According to her advisor, Mark Carpenito, who again I quote, Yuna, along with her peers, spoke about her personal experiences of being an Asian American at our school. Many teachers, myself included, he said, that hearing the students themselves speak of the challenges that they face in our school was the most powerful experience they had ever had at a staff meeting. He concludes by saying that Yuna is a strong, committed force for good in our community. We are very pleased to recognize Yuna Yi as an outstanding citizenship. Thank you.
Okay, now the next is public hearing for aquaculture license. We have 4 licenses. Mr. Reynolds has postponed. So now we have Sean Withington, Michael Withington, and Donald Wilkinson. And Mr. Hunter, I believe, is coming up to the podium. Chad Hunter is our harbor master.
Good evening. Just wanted to say a couple of words in regards to Sean Withington, Michael Withington, and Donald Wilkinson's license renewals. These 3 gentlemen, they approached the town back in 2009. They had a historical mussel license from the late 80s that they wanted to reestablish and start to grow oysters. I had just taken over as harbor master in 2009. Thought this was a really interesting topic. We looked to Duxbury just to our north and their thriving oyster industry at the time. And we started here with the Select Board. And not only providing these three with licenses to start growing oysters, but then we started this very arduous process of creating regulations, and there was a tremendous amount of interest after these three came forward. These three are essentially the pioneers of aquaculture here in Plymouth. They've had a number of partnerships with the town over their years. That's included tours with FDA of the aquaculture sites, a town softshell seed program that we worked with them for upweller space to raise seed to then be put under the flats for recreational shellfishing. And we've worked closely with Donald Wilkinson on his very interest in bay scallop restoration here in Plymouth Harbor, which is ongoing. The Eastern oyster value in Massachusetts in 2021 was $30.14 million. And if it wasn't for these three guys kind of kicking this off back in 2009, Plymouth wasn't a part of that, but now we are. So we've always had very strong landings in commercial fisheries and also American lobster. But obviously with overfishing, that has since declined, and this is really the future, I think, in seafood industry. In fact, I just read an article in the Globe over the weekend. It's called The Last Stand of the Softshell Clam, and it's kind of a grim tale of the Ipswich area and their softshell fishery. Obviously wild harvest, and they've seen a very significant decline over the years. The beauty of what we're doing here with oysters and some other species is this is sustainable farming. So this will continue to grow. Sort of started with these three. I think we have about 32 licenses out there, which are all individual farms. And, you know, we're really seeing this, this industry kind of emerge and grow as we move forward. So I obviously want to recommend the renewal for the three licenses that are in front of you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Mr. Withington. I don't know if he has anything to say. Good afternoon.
Good evening, and thank you, Betty, and Chairman, and also thank you, Selectmen, for all of your hard work. We just would ask that we could continue this fun on the flats, or trying to put aquaculture on the Plymouth map, and appreciate Chad's support and would welcome the board's support. And it's always tough when you go up against such wonderful young students who are doing such great things, and you just are looking to raise a few oysters. But with great growth we have in the town with our young graduates and to-be graduates and volunteer presidents. So we just look for your support so that we can keep the industry going. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Withington. Is there anyone opposed to these licenses? And I bring it back to the board for a motion.
May I ask Mr. Withington a question?
Sure.
Michael, you still there?
Yes, I am.
So, Michael, yourself, your son, and Mr. Wilkinson, as the harbor master said, you were at the forefront a decade ago. So I got a question for you. Is it any easier today than it was 10 years ago?
I would say it's more regulatory now, but that's part of the safety aspect. Any assistance that you could give a starting farmer or existing farmers help would be greatly appreciated. So to answer your question, it is more difficult to do business now, and especially after the pandemic. It was difficult, but we managed to volunteer our way into the hearts of the Jordan Hospital by donating oysters to the 3 shifts there. So any help from the board or any agencies that can make the business easier would be greatly appreciated. So I hope that answers your question.
All right, thank you.
One of the things for folks at home and even people in the audience is that we do have a robust aquaculture industry, and we have a great harbor committee, and I don't know if people have had the ability to watch it, but some of the things that they've accomplished this year is there's a charter boat row, that there are docks for our charter boats that we've never had before, and our charter boats get to back in, and people can see what they're doing, and they're filleting fish, and I know our town manager got the first look at it over this weekend, and it's wonderful, because there was 2 charters, there was 12 people on the charters, and all those people went out to dinner in our local restaurant. So it's a great industry, and I think it's doing really well. And I know myself as a selectman, I look forward to supporting whatever they need. So can we bring it back to the board for a vote? Is there a motion?
I motion we extend the aquaculture licenses for Sean Withington, Michael Withington, and Donald Wilkinson.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Helm, seconded by Mr. Bletzer. All those in favor? Flavor. Because they're very flavorful. It's an unanimous. So next we have...
Good flavor.
Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate it, Patty. Bye.
Bye-bye. Now we have Mr. Beater for the DPW Director with the Brook Road Bridge update.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Jonathan Beater, Director of Public Works. It's great to be here and see a lot of familiar faces again, as the state rep said a little while ago. So we're here to run through a brief presentation, more of an update on Brook Road and what we have planned and what we'd like to do. But just a little background, tonight it's myself, and then we have Town Engineer Skazi here with representatives from Howard Stein Hudson. We have Paul Berthume in the room, and Chris, I don't know if you've let Colin on in terms of outside access. Since October's town meeting, we've been diligently working on a redesign based on the feedback we got from town meeting, advisory and finance, the Board of Selectmen as road commissioners, to really look at ways to preserve the bridge and do a little bit more digging in terms of what we can do. I will say HSH, Howard Stein Hudson, has done a fantastic job as far as really, looking into the bridge, what we have in terms of existing conditions and what we can do. But I don't want to take up too much time. I know you have a full agenda tonight, so I want to turn it over to Paul. He'll run through the presentation. There is information on the website if anybody hasn't seen it. We do have a list through all the public engagements where we did email all the abutters, as many residents as we could, the technical memorandum, which really goes into detail as far as what we've done and what we'd like to do. But again, I'm going to turn it over to Paul. We have about a 5 to 10 minute presentation. Then we're happy to answer any questions. Then we'll be looking for a recommendation. So thank you.
Thank you, JB. I'm Paul Berthium with Howard Stein Hudson. I am the manager of structural engineering. Colin Costello is via Zoom. He is a senior structural engineer, and he's been assisting me with this project. We'll get started. The existing bridge is about a 13-foot span. The width right now is a little more than 17 feet. It has 8 steel beams that are concrete encased in a 7.5-inch thick deck. There is roughly 3 inches of pavement on the bridge right now, and there is a 6-inch diameter water line that is right behind one of the guardrails here, you can see. And we'll go into the next steps here. So existing conditions, you can see that the exterior, oops, that did not go well. We fixed that, sorry about that. There we go. Okay. Existing conditions. So you can see the exterior beam here has significant deterioration, which is why the bridge is closed. There are areas where the bottom flange is non-existent, so it has 0 capacity. If you look though the deck itself is in relatively good shape. Also want to point out, this bridge was constructed in 1926, we believe, so it's 96 years old, and that deck looks pretty darn good for 96 years. We'll move along to the interior beam. The interior beam bottom flange here looks pretty darn good. I mean, it's rusty, and I've been under there. I took these pictures. It's very wet. It's a wet environment, so I can understand why it's rusty, but it certainly is not as deteriorated as the exterior beams, and both exterior beams exhibit this condition. So I'd like to start with what we think our approach to preserving the bridge would be, and you can see that in the cross-section down below. So we would first basically cut the deck and get rid of those exterior beams right over the first interior beam. We would save all those interior beams. We're actually proposing to strengthen them with three-quarter inch by 3-inch wide cover plates and cast a new deck, put in a new beam that would be, to today's standards, would be a 50 KSI beam. And we would put new guardrail in. You can see the connection there. New pavement, and we would also put in a new connection for the water line. The existing water line is probably about 2 inches from the back of the guardrail, so if somebody were to hit the guardrail and bend that guardrail, it could damage the water main. So the idea here is to get that water main on the outside of the bridge, further away from the guardrail. Now, what we'll say here is that I want to point out the existing bridge is load posted. It's also currently closed. The bridge would still have to be load posted, but it's going to be a very big improvement. You get 15 tons for the H20 truck, 25 tons for the Type 3, and 39 tons for the Type 3 S2. Those are the 3 posting trucks that you see out there today. Schedule-wise, if approved, what we're thinking is that it's going to take the rest of the summer to design the replacement beams. We have to submit to Mass DOT to do a Chapter 85 design review. And then we would probably have a round of comments with them. And then obviously we have to put a bid package together for the town, and the town would bid the project. So we anticipate that the bidding would occur. I did it again. Keep hitting the wrong button. We anticipate the bidding would occur in the wintertime. And then what that would do is allow the contractor some time to mobilize in the spring and then really start amping up work. Beginning of April, we believe construction would take about 8 to 10 weeks. And by the time, this time next year, the bridge should be done. It will take a little bit of time because Mass DOT will have to inspect the bridge once it is completed. They will want to make sure that the repairs were made and that the bridge is safe to reopen. Once that initial inspection occurs, the town can reopen the bridge with the revised load posting. To give you an idea of costs, for our final design services, we're estimating it's about $30,000. Construction services, that's a service that Howard Stein Hudson provides. We would provide on-site resident engineering the entire time, the 8 to 10 weeks. That's approximately $60,000. And we anticipate that the construction cost as of today is around $120,000. So the total project cost would come in around $210,000 for the town. And that's all I have. Any questions?
I have some.
Sure.
So it's probably more to JB than, so this is nothing that we're going to have to raise and appropriate. This is, I mean, I like the 210,000 way more than I like the 2.5 million. So, and it doesn't change the size. When you said guardrails, we don't want guardrails that look like they belong on the Southeast Expressway. You probably already understand that. So, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, let me get into some of those details, Betty, and those are really good questions. And it would have been so much easier if we came at you with this in the first time, right?
It was so much easier, because it'd be
So-
done already.
Agreed. So we have a Mass DOT grant that started off at $500,000. We have a little bit over $300,000 now. So working with District 5, those funds could be used to, complete this project. So we do not need to raise or appropriate or go to town meeting for any action, which is great news. As far as the overall design goes, Paul did a great job in terms of, outlining what we've done. What HSH actually did, which we didn't do the last time, is we actually cored the bridge. We actually cut the concrete and actually measured the beams and did an inspection of the beams. That wasn't done the last time. So that's the key and fundamental difference here. So after that, what's taken us a lot of time is we really went at it twice in terms of getting to this point today where, working with Paul and Colin and Sheila, we came back and we listen, we can open the bridge, but there's still going to be a weight restriction where you couldn't put fire trucks over the bridge. So we didn't really look at that favorably. I spoke with, Derek, and we met with the fire chief. So we had them look again, and that's when we said, all right, we're going to weld the flange on the bottom of the beam so we can open up to all town apparatus, which we think is a benefit to the residents. So as Paul said, we get a contractor, they'll cut the 2 outside beams, they'll replace those, the bridge will stay the same width, we will pave it, we will put new guardrail and a new water main. And yes, we would like to see something, aesthetically pleasing in terms of wood, probably wooden guardrail with a steel back. But we have to go through the Mass DOT design review for that. And from what we're hearing, Mass DOT is extremely rigid in terms of their review of guardrail. But we will do what we can to make sure it fits the environment, okay?
Would you be able to share those?
As soon as we get that
Yep.
approval, we can let you know as far as what we're looking at in terms of
Okay.
a design.
And that way we can share it with the residents down there too?
Absolutely. But
Perfect.
what the fundamental changes with this design is we don't need any easements. We are not widening the bridge, no sidewalk. It's really what the residents were looking for in terms of preservation. But if you read that technical memo, this isn't going to be a 75 or 100-year project. I just want to let everybody know that. You're probably looking at 20 to 50 years, tops. So that's what we're looking to do at this point. And schedule-wise, we will do everything we can to move it, but we don't think it'll get done before this winter. Given the construction industry, the climate, availability, pricing, everything is kind of a little bit out of whack right now. So more than likely, we'll have this thing ready to go in the spring of '23, okay? But again, no town meeting action, very straightforward project. Mass DOT is on board. We just got another year for the grant extension, so that's good. We can cover the cost of the projects with the grant. So it seems like everything has fallen into place. And,
Excellent.
any other questions, we're happy to answer.
John?
JB, so for $210,000, you're telling me you got a life extension on this infrastructure of 20 to 50 years?
Correct. Probably closer to 20.
All right, closer to 20, but I still think for 200 grand, that's a pretty solid investment.
Feasible.
And with respect to public safety, no restrictions.
Zero.
I mean, any vehicle that we need to get over that bridge will be allowed to go over that bridge.
That's correct.
Okay.
It will be load posted, though.
Excuse me?
Yeah, it will be load posted, okay, so we checked it for, JB requested that we check it for like trash trucks, school buses, fire trucks will be able to go over the bridge, but it will still be load posted. So the shorter trucks, that's the H20 that I said, that's a 15-ton weight restriction. So, we don't want, loaded dump truck triaxles driving over the bridge. That's not what we did here. We looked at the 3 Mass DOT load posting vehicles, and we looked at emergency service vehicles. Those will be able to access the bridge.
Okay. What kind of maintenance requirements, yearly or every other year with respect to the next 20 years?
So once Mass DOT does their initial bridge inspection, they will come back out.
Post-construction or pre-construction?
Post-construction. They're going to inspect to make sure that the work was done, that it's safe. Then they will allow the town to reopen the bridge. And then they will come out every 2 years to inspect the bridge. As long as the bridge is in good condition, they will continue to come out every 2 years. I've given some guidance to town engineer to when those inspections come in to make sure there aren't any red flags or anything that's been downgraded. Typically, what we would like to see is after this work is done, that it would get a 5, which would be considered satisfactory. And anything below that is obviously not any good, and then something that would need to be addressed. But again, I'll point out, the deck is 96 years old, looks pretty good. Those beams are 96 years old, they look pretty good, except for those exterior ones, which we want to eliminate. The exterior beams, we would likely have them hut dip galvanized, and that would provide a 75-year design life for those beams. So at relatively minimal cost, that's included in the construction cost.
Okay, thank you.
So JB, what do you need from the board tonight?
We're requesting that the board vote to approve the concept, the design concept, and allow us to move forward with final design, bidding, and construction.
Would anyone like to make the motion?
I'll move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. It's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Appreciate everybody's patience on this one.
Good job.
So now we have our committee appointments, and I think, you'll do that. And I'm sure this is my first time doing committee appointments, so if you see Mr. Quintal nudging me, hitting me, elbowing me, there's a reason for it. So, all right, so the first committee appointment is a 3-year Cedarville. Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. You know what? I told Mr. Cirque that we could move one of the public comments. He had something to say, so we're going to just do that very quickly. And then we'll still have another public comment, because I know that there's folks here from Morton Park, so.
Thank you very much. I want to make a one-sentence cautionary reminder about the committee appointments that you're about to make. If your appointments are not based on the relative merits of the applicants, as they should be, but are instead based on a desire to wreak political revenge on your critics, or simply to reward political friends, as they should not be, you will bring disrepute on the Select Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cirque. I think we can make these appointments without your concern. It's certainly not the way that this board does business. So I actually take offense to that comment. So the first committee appointment, Cedarville Steering Committee, 1 full seat for 3 years. We have Jody Burkett and Pat Edelman. Hi, Jody.
Hi, I had a head start. I'm looking to be reappointed to the Cedarville Steering Committee. I've proudly served on the committee for the past 3 years, never missed a meeting. COVID did put a kibosh on a lot of different things for a lot of different committees. I found it very rewarding to be involved in decisions that affect my community. I've lived in Cedarville all my life and feel as though I have a valuable insight into our community that would benefit our villagers. It would certainly be an honor and a privilege to be appointed to serve on this committee again.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you. Thank you for your consideration.
Pat Edelman.
Good evening. I'm Pat Adelman. I'm seeking a seat on the Cedarville Steering Committee. I've lived in Plymouth since 1977, when Hedge Pond Road was a dirt road, and the center of Centerville was called Bruno's Corner, a very small grocery store. I've been on the school committee, the building committee, and the Capital Outlay Committee, so I think I have some experience behind me. I've seen the growth in Cedarville, and I am amazed at how vibrant of a community it is. And we still have more development coming on Hedges Pond Road. Hedges Pond Road development has improved tremendously. Before it was just a gravel pit, big trucks coming and going all the time. Now we have some very nice businesses there. I would like to serve on the committee so that I can help with all the problems that this progress has shown us. My goal is to improve the standard of living so that our residents won't be convenient, but still allow the necessary economic growth in order to sustain government services. It would be an honor to be appointed, and I would diligently serve on the Cedarville Committee. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Edelman. Do we have any questions from the board or comments? Nope. So we will go with the vote. All those in favor for Jody Burkett?
Aye.
4?
You were 4, Betty?
Yes.
4.
And 1? Pat. Okay. Congratulations, Mrs. Burkett.
Thank you very much.
Now we have the Conservation Commission, and on the agenda, it wasn't as specific as it should have been, but we have 4 full seats, and there are 2 3-year terms, there's 1 2-year term, and there's 1 1-year term. So So I guess we'll do the first 3-year term?
I would suggest that any of those 7 candidates who are here should get up and go through the roster first. And
Okay. So is Mr. Howard here?
Online.
Okay, he's online. Mr. Howard, would you like to speak?
Yes, please. Good evening, Bruce Howard, 735 Long Pond Road. I've come to appreciate that the Conservation Commission is a balance between protecting the natural resources of Plymouth and enabling the property owners to enjoy the resources that their property and the town have to offer. I strive to maintain that balance every Tuesday night. Caring about the ponds, streams, coastal banks, and aquifer is central to the mission of our Conservation Commission. Every project involves work near a sensitive resource area. Every applicant challenges the Commission to respect their rights to live next to these resources while ensuring their protection. Being on the Commission is hard work. Every week, I review the upcoming projects, discuss them with our planner, and visit each site. I truly believe that commissioners must evaluate every project on its own merits while holding projects to comply with the Wetlands Protection Act in Plymouth. As Commission Chair, I've worked to allow everyone to speak. I've made a point of having the commissioners make each and every decision. I believe that my role, as it should be, is to run the meetings and facilitate the discussions. I have learned a great deal while serving on the Commission. I have benefited from the experience and expertise of my fellow commissioners and have learned much from our planner. I have completed the MACC fundamental courses and hope that every new commissioner will do the same. The Commission continues to have a full agenda every week. Conducting these hearings is our primary purpose. Yet, our mission extends town departments and committees, improving communications and facilitating working together more closely. I hope that the Select Board appreciates the effort I have put towards serving on the Commission, and I would be grateful for the opportunity to continue to serve. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Holton?
So, my name is David Holton. I grew up in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and I've spent my entire career working for a large multinational company, Marriott, in a senior executive role. to bring resorts in very environmentally sensitive locations around the world. My personal time has become more available just by virtue of my career coming not to an end, but I've certainly wound down the amount of travel. I love Plymouth. I grew up here. My dad served the community in as the principal and vice principal of Plymouth Carver High School some years ago. My brother and sister still live here, and I care deeply about the preservation of the town and its environment. And I'd like to continue supporting that. I believe that developing public areas and recreation and access with a focus on balancing responsible growth, the environment, preservation of the community, as well as nature with new development. Overseeing environmentally responsible resort development with input to policies and laws and best practices has been what I've done. I've been extremely successful in my career, and I'd like to bring my my talents to the place I love, Plymouth. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Oh, questions?
David, so David, your primary residence is now Plymouth.
It is not yet Plymouth. I'm in the process of developing a new home here. I do live here about 5.5 months of the year.
Okay, and you're building a new home?
Yes, I am.
In Plymouth.
Yes.
Is that house on the mainland or on a barrier beach?
It is on the beach.
So your main residence is going to be out on Long Beach?
Yes, it is, actually.
Okay, so it took me a while, David, well, actually not that long, to put two and two together, but received an email from the town manager Sunday morning with respect to, a potential construction project that you're going to undertake.
Yes.
Potentially on town-owned property out on Long Beach, and I just...
That's not, I'm not taking, there's no construction yes, I was going to do some improvement on town-owned property. That's
Right.
Sorry, yes.
So, that sent a red flag up, so where I was coming from, and I thought that was significant.
Mm-hmm.
So what prompted you to seek an application or get appointed to the Conservation Commission?
Well, thank you for asking, because I'll tell you, when I started working with the Conservation Commission, I actually enjoyed the process. I find the commission to be very well run, but I noticed when I saw some of the things that were happening that it's hard work to actually do the research and find out what it takes to make environment and human existence coexist. I've done it all my life in terms of my career, and while it seems like you're asking the question, am I doing this because I have any interest in need any conflict of interest? It's not at all. Of course, I would abstain on anything to do with my home. My home has already been approved by the commission. I worked very closely with them to make it right, and I think they would tell you if they were here. I'm a guy who actually advocates for the environmental preservation. So I want to give back to the town. That's the truth, Mr. Mahoney.
I appreciate your candor.
Yes.
And certainly, interviewing people as they get up to the podium can't always determine what motivates somebody to come forward to, to get appointed to, whatever committee it may be.
I can assure you I have no ulterior motive.
Thank you. And I'll take you at your word on that.
Thank you.
But having said that, I would be, in this voting cycle, I would hesitate to support you just until that current project comes to its conclusion with respect to I just wanted to let you know where I was from, so.
I understand
What
that.
position I was coming from. until, and I know we're a few weeks away from dealing with that issue, and I've only scanned it over briefly,
Okay.
but I'll certainly go over that, you know,
Sure.
at a closer look, and I'm sure you'll be back before us in a few weeks. Thank you.
I understand. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, next is Mr. Sean Anderson. Good evening.
Good evening. Hey, thank you, everyone. I think I'm the junior member here in this. So I've been in the town since 2008, after moving home after leaving for active duty Air Force, coming up on 24 years of service. So my career there was kind of coming to somewhat of a close. So I figured this was a good opportunity now to look for a new chapter in how to serve my own local community. I've had various projects at my own residence that are all done with. So, for conservation, from my first moving into the house, I had a violation, which I had no idea what conservation was, so here they come, and worked through the process. It was great. It was actually fairly smooth. Did some other projects, put a bridge in, my house renovation, so all those kind of closed out. So I waited until everything was kind of filtered through, and I figured this is kind of the opportunity now. I've learned a lot through all the different laws, regulations, the processes, and I can assure you that any personal bias I ever had would never come forward in the commission. It is strictly what the bylaws are, and I would ask any applicants for it, kind of like I ask my own airmen, is, when they have a proposal, or I come up with something, don't tell me no, tell me how to get to yes. So this project's come forward, there's engineers, there's a lot of hard work, a lot of effort put into those things, so how do we get our residents to yes? There's probably a safe way to do it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Questions? Oh,
Yes,
John?
Sean? So, Sean, your primary residence is Plymouth?
Yes.
And what motivated you to apply?
Again, like I said, so I'm kind of coming up on the tail end of I was trying to find a time at some point that I can do this over the years. I got interested as, the last 8 years have been project conservation, so I felt like for me it was a fit because I kind of meshed into that. Now that in theory my deployment cycle is decreased, so I'll be able to have the time to do this. And again, how can I do something for the town? Well, I mean, I've served the nation for 24 years, so now what can I do for my town, essentially? So start small.
Any more questions?
But those two will be applied to the next 5. I'm sorry, the last 4. I'll ask those. Standard question, is your primary residence Plymouth, Massachusetts? Who unprompted you? What motivated you to apply for a STEAK appointment?
Okay, so the rest of you know what's coming. Mr. Steve, I don't know how to say your name, Bjorklund? Bjorklund. Mr. Bjorklund, I'm sorry for crucifying your name.
That's okay, I'm on Zoom. Hopefully everybody can see me and hear me.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I apologize for not being there. I'm actually in Florida at Disneyland on my vacation during this this evening. My primary residence is not in Plymouth. I am a property owner out in Saquosh, and I am in the process of building a beach home out there, which will just be a summer home. It's not going to be a permanent home. What is prompting me to apply for the commission is I went through a very long process to get approvals out there, and it was a very, very difficult situation when permits were actually revoked after I received them from the commission. I did file appeals under the state and was successful in obtaining the permits that I need to reconstruct. And my expertise is about 40 years of developing, using the Wetlands Protection Act and local rules and regulations. That's what I specialize in. And I have worked diligently with the commission for the last 4 years to help them rewrite their rules and regulations. And I know a lot of the selectmen that are there have seen me come in front of you as well. And I have tremendous concerns with these local rules and regulations. And I want to continue to work to make sure that Plymouth gets the best regulations that it can, but they're also usable for the people that have the properties out there. So it's really my background. I want to try to help Plymouth on this. And for the last 4 years, I've probably spent more time on these regulations than any other individual, other than maybe a commission member or two. That's it.
Great. Any questions from board members? No questions? All right, well, thank you. Now, Mr. Paul Churchill.
Hello, Board. Thank you for your consideration. I'm a longtime Plymouth resident. I was born and raised here. I've been a taxpayer my whole adult life, and I felt like I'd like to get on a board here, which I've never served in any board in the town of Plymouth before, and try to adhere to the regulations that we have in the state and help out the taxpayers at the same time. I feel like some of the taxpayers are not getting their fair shake, I believe, as this gentleman was just saying. I don't know anything about him or his specific case, and I think the rules should be adhered to by everyone on an equal playing field, and I don't feel that's being done. I do have a business in this town. I have over 30 employees that all live in this town, and I feel that I don't have actual experience in the conservation industry, but I can consult those who do, and I'm a problem solver. I have employees, I have a business, and I know how to get things done, and I think I can do that in a fair and equitable manner. So I would appreciate your consideration for the job. I am a Plymouth resident at the time, and I believe I said why I'd like to get on the board. I feel like I could do something for this town and the taxpayers of this town.
Any questions from the board? No? Thank you, Paul.
Thank you for your time.
Yep. Next is Mr. Randy Parker, who joins us via Zoom. Good evening, Mr. Parker.
Good evening, Ms. Cavaco. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can.
Well, that's too bad. However, good evening. My name is Randy Parker. I live in Manamet. I think town meeting has made it clear it wants nothing to do with wetlands and regulations. Having declined to engage a check and balance at this time, so we turn to you, the appointing authority, to help us address parity from within. Hence my application letter, which says, I was watching Trifletti, I got teleprompters here. I have this over here and my letter over here. So what the letter says is, this is an application for appointment to the Plymouth Conservation Commission. Written to you, I bring decades of experience working with wetland rules and regulations. I know the town. I can read a plan and wish to offer my services. External efforts to strike a reasonable balance on local wetland regulations has been fruitless to date. If we cannot change externally, and we have tried, then we need to try an internal approach, and I remain willing. It's my understanding the resignation of a commissioner leaves a 2-year seat, a 1-year seat. I'm not picky. Whatever you want to give me, I just want to help. It makes sense for me to look forward toward that shorter term. Sorry. I'm sorry it won't take, I'm hopeful it won't take that long to strike a new balance on the commission and with the regulations we live with. I note that as a licensed professional offering my services to the town, though without compensation, state ethics informs us that a designated special municipal employee status ought to be voted by the select board for me or any other engineer, land surveyor, architect, and so on, sitting on any boards or committees. I also note that I appear before the commission on occasion, will farm out clients to other, recuse and abstain as necessary, and look to diversify business activities away from local environmental submissions. But what this commission needs, folks, is somebody with a different perspective that knows what they're doing. I hope that's me. Regardless, I have the best interest of Plymouth at heart in seeking this appointment. There is no individual benefit, and more likely aggravation. So look, we've had our difficulties, and there's been some tough time, but I'm well enough now to help. I still want to just let me, even for a year. Thank you for your consideration. And we'll turn back to the presentation at large. Let me get my teleprompter up. So, should I be appointed, the town won't have to pay for my MACC membership or materials, cause while preparing arguments for petitioned articles, I obtained my own membership to the Massachusetts Association of Conservation. I bought some books. This one, you see that? We had all this buffer stuff going on, 50 to 100 feet. This one is all about buffer zones. The other I have is the MAC e-handbook. And this is kind of a joke, guys. I come with my egg timer, my own egg timer. I sent this one to Bruce. He didn't want it. He sent it back. Listen, never mind. It won't do it. Regardless, it was a joke. It does good. We'll see how it does on the commission. But that's it for me. Looks like it could be a long night for you. Guess the presenter controls the length of presentation. You control the length of debate. I'd be pleased to respond to any question or comment. Thank you for your consideration. Thank you for your time. All that you guys do for this town. I just want to help you. I appreciate your consideration again. Thank you. Good night. Questions, comments? I'm here.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Do we have any questions?
Yes.
Any questions?
Yes.
Nope.
Ms. Cavaco.
Nope, no questions. Thank you, Mr. Parker. Stand by.
Oh, that's no fun. Thank you. Bye-bye. Next up.
Next up
Madam Chairman, I have a question for you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Blitzer has a question for you, Mr. Parker.
Oh, boy.
So, Mr. Randy, there's no question in your resume, you know the conservation, the rules and regs, there's no question about it, you got the experience. And I think you've already answered my question, and that is, if you have your work that has to go before the board, you're going to recuse yourself, obviously, on any of those decisions.
Hey, Mr. Blitzer, Charlie.
Yes, you answered.
Absolutely.
That's what I thought.
I think that it's a great question, Charlie, and I think we need to be very candid here about what relationships might go on.
Right. No, I haven't. You've answered it, Randy. That's good.
Well, I know, but Charlie, I'd love to get out of this permitting stuff.
Yep. No,
I'm a land surveyor. I'd be happy to do lot stakings and existing conditions plans. I have one notice of intent filed with them. I got maybe a couple more in RDA, and I'm going to shuffle them over. I want to be out of it. I have other things I can do. I can be more useful to this community, Charlie, on the other side of the table. It's about
Okay.
time. Thank you so much.
No, and I appreciate that because there's a lot of people that get on these committees and they have their own personal agendas. And I know you don't, so that's why I just might want to make it clear. Thank
Yeah,
you.
well, my agenda is Plymouth and Manamet. I told you why I love Manamet so much, didn't I, Charlie?
Yes, you did.
Because you let me stay.
Yep. So
Thank
anyway,
you.
thank you, Randy.
We're moving the question. Mr. Carpenter, you're next, please.
Hi, my name is Jamie Carpenter. I'm born and raised since 1974. I've lived in this town. I'm a general contractor. I hold a septic installer's license, and I've been a harbor committee member for roughly 20 years. I've built a lot of houses within the buffer zone. I've worked with the Conservation Commission on plenty of different occasions and staff. I'm familiar with the process, and I think I could be a help with my technical abilities. I also grow oysters, so.
Any questions from the board? All right, well, thank you, Mr. Carpenter. So, are we, yeah, I was going to say, how are we going to do this, Mr. Vice Chairman?
You have 2 3-year terms, I believe, 1 2-year term, and 1 1-year term.
Correct.
That's the correct number?
Yes.
Okay, so you can take any one of those.
So will we go with the first 3-year term?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first 3-year term, do we have Mr. Howard? Oh, Mr. Howard.
Are you going to ask for nominations, or are we going to
We're just going to go down the list.
go down the list? Okay.
So, Mr. Howard? 1. Mr. Holton? 0. Mr. Anderson? 3. Charlie, are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yes.
Is that a yes for Mr. Anderson?
I mean, on the 3, I'm not sure how we're doing this. Why wouldn't we just vote and then the, you know, and let the committee which terms they want? Does it work like that?
No. So what we're doing, Charlie, we have 2 3-year terms. Can you hear me?
Yes.
1 2-year term and 1 1-year term. So we're going to do the 2 3-year terms first, then a 1 2-year term, and then after that, a 1-year term. Okay?
Right, okay.
So,
Mr. Anderson just won the first.
well, I didn't, did Charlie vote on that? Did you vote on Mr. Anderson yet, Charlie?
For the 3-year? No.
Okay.
Not for the 3-year.
Okay, so what was Mr. Anderson?
3.
3, 1, 2, 3?
Yep.
Okay.
So now, Mr. Borkland. Charlie?
No.
Okay. And now, Mr. Churchill?
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute.
We're voting on the 2 3-year terms simultaneously.
Yes.
This one first.
Yes for Churchill.
So that's
4.
4. John, no?
Correct.
I just want to make sure.
I thought we were going to announce Anderson as the winner and move on to a second vote for the other 3-year term. I'm sorry.
That's what we just did. So we have Mr. Anderson and Mr. Churchill for the 3-year terms, correct? Yes. So now we will move on to the
2-year.
2-year term. Mr. Howard? Charlie?
No.
So 1 for Mr. Howard. Mr. Holton?
No.
0. So we'll take Anderson and Churchill out. Mr. Borklin? Charlie?
No.
Okay. Mr. Parker?
Yes.
2 is 3.
So we have 3 for Mr. Parker for the 2-year term,
Yep.
and Mr. Carpenter? 1. And now for the 1-year term. Mr. Howard? 1?
No.
2. Mr. Holton? None. Mr. Borklin? 1. And Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
2.
Well, you know what? I'll change my vote for Jimmy Carpenter.
Okay, so that's 3.
Yep.
So we have, do you want to announce what we have?
Yes. So for one of the 3-year terms, we have Sean Anderson, another 3-year term, Paul Churchill. The 2-year term is Randy Parker, and the 1-year term is Jamie Carpenter.
Great. So that's Conservation Committee is complete.
I got it here for you all.
Great, thank you. So next is Community Preservation. We have 1 full seat for a 3-year term. Do we have Christine? Yes. Okay. Yep.
Good evening. First, let me apologize to the Honorable Select Board for my inability to appear before you in person, but I have bronchitis, so I opted to keep my illness at home and to join you virtually through Zoom.
And we appreciate that.
I'm sure you do. I have a long-standing commitment to the guiding principles of the Community Preservation Committee and its charter of affordable housing, historic preservation, and open space. I was the only committee member to strongly advocate for a broader view of the purchase for the the Sandwich Road property of 24 acres. I believed that it would bring about greater benefit to the community as a whole, even though it didn't meet a good majority of the criteria that is considered for open space. But I felt that the Select Board's vision was strategic, and I felt that it deserved the support of the Community Preservation Committee. I also have been a strong commitment to seeing the approved articles of the legislative branch be successful, as is evidenced by my volunteer time for the Symes House. I'm a lifelong resident of North Plymouth. North Plymouth, from an open space standpoint, is pretty much built out. And so I look at that particular criteria for open space. I look at that as something that I need to reflect on for the community as a whole. I do believe that as the community evolves, that so don't the guiding principles and the criteria for the CPC. And I will say that there are many occasions where I will introduce a consideration to my fellow committee members that don't fit strictly with the criteria or the structure of the Community Preservation Committee. I also tend to focus on financial compliance to that extent, meaning that what the town is invoiced for is eligible under the Community Preservation Act. And it's something that goes along with my inclination to hold either a treasurer's role on a number of committees in years past. So I want to make sure that we are fully compliant with what we're committed to pay for and support. So with that, I would respectfully appreciate your continued endorsement and would ask that you consider reappointing me for another 3-year term. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Pratt. Mr. Hutchinson?
He withdrew.
He withdrew.
Yeah.
Okay, and Karen Bukes?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Karen Bukes, and I'm applying for a seat on the CPC. I have no agenda but to help my town. I have sat on many committees. I even sat on a commission. I admire and appreciate what the CPC does. I have watched them for almost 20 years and did not vote for them the very first time I was a town meeting member. But if you remember Paul Withington, he took the time and he sat down next to me and he explained what the CPA tax was all about and the good that it could bring the town. And I truly believe that is true. I am a member of this town for almost 50 years. And like I said, I volunteered for many, many years on many different committees. And I would appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Anybody have any questions? No. Okay, so this is a one full seat for a 3-year term. Christine Pratt. One. Mr. Hutchinson has. Charlie?
No.
Mr. Hutchinson has withdrawn, so one for Christine. And Karen Bukes?
Yes.
4 for Karen Bukes. Now, the historic district, we have 2 full seats, 2 3-year terms. We have Ronald Filson. Would you like to get up and speak?
I hope you all had a chance to look at the brief bio I sent, and I don't want to repeat all of that. I guess the main reason I'm here is that starting 20 years ago, because of my wife Lee's involvement with GSMD, we were coming back and forth a lot to Plymouth from New Orleans and from Ohio. And over the years, we just absolutely fell in love with the place. We ended up a few years ago buying a house on, on Leiden Street, which we've renovated. It's just I think the opportunity to do something for our new loved town is a great opportunity for me. I've had the opportunity to serve on a number of historic district commissions, including the Vieux-Carré Commission in New Orleans, which is the first preservation commission that was ever formed in the country. I served also on the City Planning Commission there for a number of years. I've served on historic and preservation commissions in Los Angeles, and couple of other places, and I'm currently, I'm retired. I've been retired for a number of years after teaching and practicing for 40 years. And currently, I'm the project manager for the Mayflower Meeting House. And I just would like the opportunity to serve the city, to serve the town. We really love it here. We really enjoy being here. And it's just a great place. And thanks for your consideration.
Any questions? Mr. Quintal? And, Harry?
Mr. Filson, when you look at our current historic district commission, what do you think they're doing right, and what do you think needs improvement?
Well, I've had the opportunity to have a couple of discussions. I think the first thing, obviously, in my mind, is considering the expansion of the district. It strikes me as ironic that two of the oldest structures in the country are outside of our historic district. And I think that there's needs to be, and I'm saying this with not a lot of involvement and not a lot of discussion, but just a little bit of observation. And I know it's difficult, but I think that there needs to be some more concentrated and sort of quality design review decisions. I know all of us look at projects in the historic district occasionally and wonder, how the heck did that project end up looking like that and being there? And I think there are more opportunities for development of guidelines and review, design review, that the commission could take on.
A follow-up. So do you feel that currently the design review...
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Do you feel currently the design review points need clarification, or, further codification?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No, what I'm asking is, do you feel that the design tenets that are applied by the Historic Commission currently need further codification or clarification, or exactly
what? I'm
what?
not sure. I've looked at the commission's design guidelines and all of the various, and there's a lot of good material in there. I think there was some good work done in developing a lot of that material. I think there's always the opportunity for more refinement, for maybe more discussion, and perhaps just elevating the discussion about design quality. And that's a function of the commission and discussion and meetings and things.
Mr. Quintal?
Mr.
Great,
Filson, if,
Oh, wait a minute.
Ron? No problem,
I'm old and decrepit, so
as we all. I just, what can you tell me, what are your thoughts on Water Street and how you've seen that change the last couple of years? That's one of the reasons I ran. So I want, and the second part of the question would be, if you are put on the board, would you bring up, make it to be one of your meeting points to bring up expanding the historic district?
Yes. And I think Water Street is a tough issue, and I liken it in many ways to discussions that we had on the Vieux-Carré Commission in New Orleans, because the pressures of commercial, especially tourism-oriented businesses, often end up impacting historic areas in unforeseen ways, and it's a very delicate balance and a delicate set of discussions about the fabric, the historic fabric, the urban fabric, and new development, especially smaller scale retail stuff on an area like Water Street. So I think that warrants a lot of input and a lot of discussion.
Thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Powell?
Thank you. My name is Walter Powell. I am a resident of North Plymouth. I guess I'm a wash ashore by some local standards. Moved here in 2013, and I'm now retired. following pretty distinguished footsteps. And in fact, in listening to Ron reiterate his background, we have a number of things in common. Before moving to Plymouth, I lived in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania for 35 years, and I served as Director of Planning and Historic Preservation there for 17 years. But more importantly, on a very practical level, I worked with what we called the Historic Architectural Review Board, or HARB, as the staff liaison to council, your select board, and with property owners, sort of both ends of the spectrum. And frankly, one of the biggest challenges that I had then, and which I know are ongoing, are trying to strike that balance between due process and an historic district commission meeting for the property owner and application, and applying the guidelines in a way which seems to be most reasonable. I concur with Ron that in looking broadly at the historic district, we need to look at expansion. It's something that in Gettysburg I was involved in shepherding 3 times, and admittedly the borough there is much smaller than Plymouth, much smaller. It's a geographical area, but yet we had the same issues. The pressure of commercial development, the need for commercial development, but at the same time the need to preserve the historic fabric of a town that we used to jokingly call was America's hometown. Now I know you're going to take issue with that, or America's best known small town. Anyway, I was on the Historic District Commission as an alternate for a year, and in the year that I was on, I observed a few things that just struck me as perhaps potential for development or improvement. One was the process of dealing with the property owner at the meeting, the nature of questions, very specific questions rather than just random questions. You know, why don't you use the color blue? In other words, being more responsive to the guidelines that are currently in place. And secondly, in looking at it, I felt that knowing as much as we can about the historic nature of the property at the time of the meeting is crucial. And with members such as Jim Baker in the past and others, that was not a difficult thing to do, but it's always a challenge to have a portfolio in front of you that tells you something so that you can make reasonable decisions based on what you know. In any case, it would be an honor to serve again. It'd be an honor to serve with Ron. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Any questions? Nope. Any questions from the board? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Rich Stefani?
Good evening, board members. My name's Rich Stefani, lifelong resident in Plymouth. I've been renovating, I'm a licensed contractor, renovating between Plymouth and Middleborough for the last 40 years. We do every type of restoration regarding the probably 1800s and 1900 houses. We're finding that the board right now has a very restrictive guideline in many cases where there are so many new products out here that we could possibly use. What we're finding, especially along the ocean front, that some of those products have changed over the years. The pine, the clapboards, the finger joints, all those things aren't holding up for us. We need a product that will pass the criteria for historic, but we want to keep the look and everything, but we also don't want the building to fall apart in 5 years, and then we've got buildings that appear to be fully run down after putting a great deal of money into it. Isaac's Building's a perfect example of we really need to do something to try to improve that. That's a main area right on the waterfront that if something could be done with that, it would be, a great asset to the waterfront. As far as expanding the district, I think within reason that would be possible. But I just think there needs to be more flexibility, and we can't give to one and not give to 5 other people asking for the same requirements. There needs to be some type of consistency so that everybody has the fair shake. And, we're finding that one person's getting simulated divided light, one person's getting grids in between the windows. There needs to be more specifics so that when the architects come in or the property owners, they know that that's going to be an acceptable product that they can use. If it's a 1600 or 1700 house, yes, we have to be reasonable that we want it to keep with its character over the years. But the newer buildings, we have to work in trying to keep a happy medium and a cost approach that the people can afford to do.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board? Okay,
I have,
okay.
hey, Rich,
Yes, Charlie.
question, working, do you believe that, I'm sure you do, but one of the problems I have with the historic is with working with the building departments. It seems like I've heard situations, one example was somebody went before them he was putting wrought iron rails decorative up, and he was there for a couple of hours, and then they started talking to him, and they brought up about his siding. You know, they were questioning the siding that he had already done, and he said the building department gave me the okay, they permitted me. And they said to him that, well, you have to go before us first. And, you know, he didn't know that. So he'd already done the siding, but, so my question for you is working with the building departments. Do you think that your board should really be working closely, and do you think you can do that?
I think, no doubt about, working with the building department, because we have to pass the fire codes and everything, hardy plank, which I know the Historic Commission does not like, but it passes the fire rating when we have a building so close. I mean, you can put the smooth on, but working with the building department and having the Historic Commission also understanding the requirements, both state and town, that we still have to pass criteria and still give it the look that everybody wants.
Right. So my question is actually probably not a good question, but I hope if you get on this board, that maybe you can have a meeting with the building department, the building inspector, and just, you know, have a little meeting so everybody's on the same page when a taxpayer goes before and wants to do some improvements to their home, that they make sure that the historic committee is involved. So I hope that's, you know, that if you get on the board, that you can encourage that.
I would agree with you. I've gone to the new building commissioner, and I think he works quite well with you, and he's reasonable with coming up with a good conclusion.
Good. I think that'd be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Stefani.
Thank you.
So this is a one full seat and two full seats, I'm
Yep.
sorry, 2 3-year terms. So we
So we have
have two, yep, we have two. So Ronald Filson,
Yes.
5.
Second seat.
Second seat, Walter Powell, 1. Mr. Stefani,
Yes.
4. Okay. And our final is the Zoning Board of Appeals, and we have 1 full seat and 2 alternate seats, and they're 3 3-year terms. So we will go for the 1 full seat, and then we will get the 2 alternate seats. So for the 1 full seat, we have Peter Connor. Okay. Philip Riccardi.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
I thought
sorry.
you were bringing them up, Chris,
Oh.
that's why I'm not voting.
I'm sorry.
That's why no one voted.
That's why no one voted, yes, I'm sorry. Peter Connor.
I was still writing,
Oh, is Mr. Connor here?
Yeah.
Not here.
Not on Zoom?
Not on Zoom? Okay. Mr. Riccardi?
Good evening. My name is Phil Riccardi. I'm currently serving on the board as the alternate, and I request to continue my service on the board for the next 3 years. So I have experience, and also in the work that I do. I work in design, construction, and permitting for developers. So I have an understanding of how it all works. Prior to moving to Plymouth 3 years ago, I lived in Kingston. I was on that board, ZBA, for 2 terms. Prior to that, we had lived in Kingston. We had a little break in Plymouth, we had a break in the middle there in going to Kingston. But when I was in Plymouth back 2006, I was on the Finance and Advisory and Finance Committee in Plymouth. And what motivates me to do this is that I enjoy working on the boards and working with the town, helping out the town. I look forward to every meeting. I've had a lot of meetings over the years with the different boards I've been on, and when I was in the Finance Committee, I was the chairman for 2 years. And I look forward to going and working with the board that we have now, and hope that you reappoint me. Yes.
Questions? Mr. Hellman?
Yes, Mr. Riccardi. Besides your various experiences in town government, what aspects of your experience do you think is particularly relevant to being on the Zoning Board of Appeals?
I have a degree in civil engineering. I've worked with developers most of my career on commercial projects. I've been before boards of various types, zoning, planning, historical, Maine, all over New England, New York City, Ohio, down in Pennsylvania. And over the years, I've traveled a bit with that. And it helps me to understand how the boards work, and being on the boards, I've been able to understand how it goes, and to be fair and honest, and keep the what's best for the town in mind. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just have one. Mr. Riccardi, were you there when the project behind Home Depot came up, where they're putting all the apartments now? Were you on the board then?
No, I was not.
Good
Sorry.
answer, thank you.
Mr. Cohan? Oh, did you have a question for him?
Just procedural, so 1 full 3-year term. The alternates go year at a time? Is that how that works?
Nope, they're all 3 years, too.
So the 2 alternates are also 3?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Cohan?
Thank you, John.
Good evening, Bill Cohan. I'm a lifelong resident, and I have been active in the planning process for the town of Plymouth for 22 years now. When I started at town meeting, I grew to have a great appreciation of where we have been as a town in terms of growth and development, and I wanted to participate in that process. And I began to become active in the Community Preservation Committee. I've been active in this capacity. I've been active on the planning board at different points in time. Those responsibilities have given me insight into the planning process in Plymouth. I've dedicated a great deal of time to this idea of preservation when it comes to the processes of development here in Plymouth. But at the same time, I am sensitive to my responsibilities on the Zoning Board of Appeals. I've had the pleasure to serve on that board for a number of years, and I've grown to understand and to be accommodating when you can be with the zoning bylaws of this town. People come before the Zoning Board of Appeals. They're looking for relief from the bylaw. You have to be very sensitive to understanding the questions that are being asked of the Zoning Board of Appeals, that you have to be careful in your determinations, because if a petitioner does not like your determinations, they can take it to a higher level, to land court. Cases can be remanded back to the town of Plymouth at a great cost. And at the same time, your decisions could be overruled if you do not have a rationale for the reason you voted the way you did on the Zoning Board of Appeals. At sometimes it can be quite painful, because you're sitting there in the Zoning Board of Appeals, you're making decisions about the bylaw. The bylaw is something that we have to implement. We can't change it. It's not our job to change it. we have to be attentive to the rights of the landowner in petitioning for this relief. But it is relief, and it requires us to bring a level of institutional knowledge. I think serving on this board in the capacity at different times on different boards and committees regarding the planning process, I think that that serves the committee well. I hope that you continue to support my efforts on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I appreciate your attention.
Thank you. And now Mr. Butch Machado.
Thank you. Some of you might know me, some of you perhaps don't. I've been out of the political and public scene of Plymouth's politics for quite some time now. I remember sitting where you guys are all sitting, and I remember these appointments. And I come tonight because I've been out of public service as far as serving the community for quite some time now. I'm not as active in the Freemasons anymore. I'm not as active in the Shriners anymore. And the Zoning Board of Appeals, I can remember, I'm looking at Buster Maines behind me. I remember when he came before our board to get appointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals. I remember that. And I guess that the reason is that, well, I think that every once in a while a change is good. I think that everybody does a good job. I think everybody has Plymouth at their best interest in every single capacity that they serve. But I think that sometimes that just change is good. A new set of eyes, a new set of ears. Certainly the only thing you're allowed to do with zoning is you have to follow the parameters of the law and the statutes. And we have staff that helps you with that. And I'm sure that I have the ability to learn and do the job. The primary job is to provide relief to the taxpayer and to the businesses. They need zoning relief. That's why they're there. You're there to help them the best that you can in accordance with the law. And that's what I would do. And I welcome any questions you might have for me.
Any questions? No, thank you.
Thank you.
So we will go with the one full seat for 3 years first.
I guess I have a question for maybe Mr. Badeau. So, Mr. Connor not being here tonight, that's no indication that he's withdrawn his application, correct? That's correct. And no communication. Okay, thank you.
He did write us a letter. We do have a letter in our packet.
Correct. Okay. But earlier, there was another point where people have withdrawn.
Mr. Connor did not.
Okay, thank you.
So the one full seat for a 3-year term. Mr. Connor? Charlie?
He's muted.
He's muted.
You're muted, Charlie. He may.
Betty, I'm sorry, I thought it was unmuted. That's a no for me, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Riccardi?
No.
1. Mr. Cohen? 1. And Mr. Machado?
Yes.
It's 3. So now for the alternate seats. There are 2 alternate seats. Mr. Connor?
Yes.
1, 2, 3,
5.
5. Well, wait a minute.
I was up.
Yeah, 5.
Yes,
Yes,
5.
for me.
Yep, 5.
5. Unanimous. Thank you.
And now for the other alternate seat.
Second.
Mr. Riccardi?
Yes.
4. Okay. So all of our committee appointments are done for this evening. I would actually like to thank all the people that did serve on our committees. I personally think it's very important that we do have change in our committees. We always complain that we have low voter turnout, but when we have the opportunity to bring new people in, we seem to fail at that point. So I'm very pleased that we have quite a bit of few members, and I look forward to working, and I think this board looks forward to working with all of them. So I'm going to move public comment because I know we have a group here that has some safety concerns about Morton Park. So I am going to move public comment to now before the dog park discussion, but after public comment, we have to take a 5-minute break.
Yes.
Just so you guys know. So come on up. And please state your name. And
So this has been wildly entertaining, first of all. Didn't plan on it being so enjoyable, so thank you. My name is Sarah Levinson. I live at 244 Summer Street and have for 17 years. Love this town. And I moved here to be near Morton Park. This is an issue. I'm not sure if any of you have been to Morton Park over the summer on any Saturday or Sunday that's the sun is shining. This is an issue that the town has been talking about for many, many years with zero resolution. To your credit, you did implement what we all thought would help. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe, or a year ago, you were on the call, and I really appreciate that. We all do. What you did was you limited the number of cars in the park. Now, that may have helped very briefly, but it also simultaneously sort of banished the residents to the 2 side beaches. But it's no longer working and in fact has created significant risks and problems in nearby areas that really came to light 2 days ago. So first, when the parking lot is full, and that happens fast, we're talking by early in the morning, they're parking on Summer Street. That's where I live. That's where my neighbors here live. They're parking on the lawns and landowners of nearby areas. That happened to me Sunday. I pulled in and there were 2 cars parked on my property, 2 cars parked on his property, and a separate family waiting in his property with their kids playing on their rocks. That's a liability. 2, they're being dropped off in droves at the park entrance. So they're flying down Morton Park Road, and to not pay the fee, or if the park is full, they're dropping off their hammocks, grills, whatever else. They're also cutting across properties. That's happened to me. It's happened to my sister on Thoreau. I think we have people here from Thoreau. And through paths in my neighbor's yard, creating a significant risky situation for everyone. Nobody wants anybody walking across their property, and unfortunately, if they walk across the wrong property, they could get hurt. I'm not saying that, but that's not a good idea. 3, in their haste to drop off their loads of people, hammocks, coolers, grills, stereos, and furniture, they are traveling at very high rates of speed down Morton Park Road, where the posted speed limit is only 15 miles an hour. This is a neighborhood full of children and dogs, where we should not have to worry about cars flying past our homes, pulling onto our lawns, standing in groups on our properties, and using our lawn as a toilet. And yes, on Sunday, 2 days ago, one of my neighbors saw someone urinating on her garage with her own eyes. She has 2 small children. So the loophole, unfortunately, has been found in the limiting the car park, and the solution is no longer solvent, and this is the main point. This is not a vehicle problem. This is a people problem. I beg you, if you haven't, to please go to the park on any Saturday or Sunday. It isn't full to the point of like, oh, there's not a picnic table left. It is maxed out, full to the brim. I don't even like running through there anymore. It's that packed. Car upon car upon car, person, hammock, cooler, loud music, grills going. I feel like I don't belong, and I live there. I moved here to be here, like I said. Now, I will not even let my children, who are teens, go there alone without me. I pay taxes to have access to that park and to have it cleaned up and taken care of, and I know how hard they work. We are not, however, even really able to use it anymore on Saturday or Sunday between Memorial Day and Labor Day. Not only that, and this is where we have to remember this is two different issues, but our properties are being abused by those trying to sneak in or not pay. So the Plymouth Police, I love Jason Higgins. I went to elementary school with him. They're very empathetic. They don't have the time or the bandwidth to deal with this, okay? This is a massive overcrowding, multiple property violations, public urination, public lewdness, and it's so bad at this point that it is totally out of the police ability and back in your hands, and I'm so sorry about that. Just a couple more lines here and then I'm done. We really can't avoid the inevitable anymore. We really must be looking at this as a person problem and be charging by person. The only way to deter the folks coming in is by charging by person. For years now, going on 2 decades, we have been and tried to no avail to really demand respect for this beautiful land and to the private properties that abut it, and there still is no respect shown. The visitors in question, quite frankly, are laughing at your solution to limit the vehicles because they're walking in through any way they can. This isn't a vehicle problem, it's a people problem. So, in order to deter that, we just have to remember that we're looking at 2 totally different issues. One is the park. Park is slammed. You can't get in there, you don't even want to be there. You feel like you don't belong because it feels like the group of 200 people truly are there together and there's no space. That's one thing. The grills, the trash, the nips along the way, that's one thing is the park. Once we start limiting access to the park with vehicles, the problem completely shifts to all of us because they are getting in however they can. And I'm not even kidding, I've been yelled at by a family walking up Lloyd Rosenberg's old driveway. He doesn't live there anymore, but you remember he lived on Summer Street, God love Lloyd. I said, you can't be here. And they said, no, we talked to the lady, we can be here. They yelled at me for asking them to get off their property because I knew Linda and Lloyd were not home. It is not safe, and something's going to happen, whether it's a kid getting hit on Morton Park Road because people are flying, dropping off loads, a dog getting hit, someone being hurt when they approach someone's private property. We've got to do something, and we have lots of other comment here. If you'd like to hear it now, we can do that. We'd also really love another opportunity to bring these anecdotal scenarios. These are our yards, our kids, our families, and we'll help you find the solution, but we have not found one yet.
Thank you. You know, I feel like I'm reliving White Horse Beach.
I know.
And I completely understand
And
where
you
you're
went
coming.
residents only, I know, but that would be wonderful here, and I didn't mean to cut you off, because I forgot about that. That may not fix the problem here, because if it's residents only by vehicle, we still have the person problem in our area. So please continue, and I won't talk
No,
again.
I think that, I mean, I know that the police are aware, and I understand that there's so many people coming into their. One of the things that we created, Mr. Blitzer and I created that Beach and Pond Committee, is because once we got White Horse Beach under control, they just moved somewhere else. So.
We found them.
And you know what, it's terrible, and I don't know if the limiting of the vehicles, and I know people don't like to hear this, it's one piece of it. And I can say that I personally think every beach and pond in town should have a beach sticker, and it should be residents only. I don't know if we're able to do that.
There's precedents. There are precedents set. I read about them. There's a couple in Rhode Island and one in Connecticut.
So, I mean, it really fixed everything for us down there. I know we're in the process, the RFP or RFQ is out for a private security firm. But I think, like you said, it's a twofold thing. I did get a phone call from Janet Young today, who I know
Yes.
she was on the committee, and she's asked that people contact her. So, I mean, if we need to form some other type of working group to get this moving quickly,
Sign me
and
up.
I'd be more than happy to help with that. but I'm wondering if there's anything that we can do emergently, because we have a big weekend coming up.
I'm dreading it.
Sure, please.
I've lived on Morton Park Road since 1989, and I thank you for all your service, by the way. And my concerns are for a lot of those teenage lifeguards that are down there with hundreds of people trying to police the area, which is really, really dangerous for them. And second of all, I'll give you a little background about me. I grew up in Roxbury, so I understand the need for city folk to want to come to a beautiful area. I can remember being a child and my father was fighting in Korea and my uncle came to Roxbury and he'd take us to the countryside and we'd go swimming. And a lot of these people, that's what they're doing. And many of them, it started out that it used to be just wonderful families and they came with the grandmother and so forth and they'd come down to Morton Park Road. Well, it's evolved now. You don't see so many grandmothers as you see a lot of rowdy, loud people. On July 4th day, at 4 o'clock in the morning on my street, Morton Park Road, I'm the 5th house on the right, cars are lined up on the street, blaring music. By 7 o'clock, the park is closed to them because they all know they can't get in. Well, now since Shaw's has gone out of business, they have a new parking area. And if you ride by Shaw's parking lot on a Saturday or a Sunday, you will see many, many, many cars. It's not a long walk to Morton Park from Shaw's. So they can't get in because the park is full, the car limit is there. Now you have hundreds of people that are not using the porta potties that are there because by 10 o'clock they're disgusting. So they go in the woods. We find diapers in the woods. Obviously, I don't know what they're doing in the water, but I don't think whatever's going on is really good for the beauty of this wonderful place. It's truly an amazing, beautiful place. And I have no qualms about anybody coming and enjoying it. But now we're at the point where nature is being, I've heard all these things about conservation. The conservation of Morton Park is in danger. It's really, really in danger. And those poor teenage kids, I mean, I came in on Saturday, Sunday, I explained to them I lived there and I had to tell them where and blah, blah, blah. And that's fine, because that's what they have to do. But to ask these young people to do this is dangerous. And second of all, we have a brand new over 55 community across the street. All those people walk. They walk down the park, enjoy it, and walk back. Sunday, cars were going up and down that street at about 50, 60 miles an hour. And if one of those, we have no sidewalks. So if some of those elderly people are walking down the street to just do their exercise, it's dangerous. And again, I have sympathy for these city folk. I really, really do. But on the other hand, I do not want this park destroyed.
Right.
You know, it has to be there for my grandchildren and your grandchildren and their grandchildren, and it's been there a long time, and it's been well preserved and taken care of. And we truly, you know, for safety reasons, you know, every weekend I have to go down by my mailbox and pick up the nips and the cigarette boxes, just people just throwing stuff out the window, and it shouldn't be. And I don't think you want any kind of lawsuit on your hands because a terrible accident occurred. And one thing before I forget, the park closes at 5 o'clock. The police sometimes go down there, and because they have a million things to do, I understand, and make sure everybody, well, an hour later, they're back because now it's no longer being policed.
Right.
So now you have a real problem on your hand. You've got children swimming where there are no lifeguards. So I think this horrible mess, and Morton Park is way smaller than Whitehorse Beach. So putting all those people, because you've blocked the other beaches, they're all congregated in that very small area, trying to use 2 bathrooms, it's not working.
Okay.
So, and I know it's a hard job you have, and I really appreciate your having to do this. But I think it's important that you understand, we're at a bad point right now. It's the worst it has ever been.
We completely understand, and safety of our residents is our priority. Is there anything that we can do, Derek,
Yeah,
like
I was going to
emergently?
suggest that, I'll clear my schedule for tomorrow morning if folks want to come in and meet with me at Town Hall. I'm trying to connect with the chief. Perhaps he can send someone from his command staff and then someone from Parks and Rec to come over as well. We can try to look at these issues and see what we can come up with prior to 4th of July.
What time?
9 a.m.?
9 works for me. Anybody else be there at 9? All right.
Great.
See you on the 4th floor then. Excuse me? On the 4th floor? We'll meet upstairs.
Thank you
How's that?
very, very much.
Sure.
And-
Honestly,
and-
being heard is a lot of it, and I feel like I can smell that there's going to be a little action. It's all we're looking for. Ruth wants it there for her grandkids. I want to save it for my kids and then my grandkids.
And Derek, if we have any, if we have any difficult manning that, could we ask the chief if we could bring in sheriffs?
That's a great, yeah, we can look at that.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
your service. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Hold on.
I had Gil Freeman, I had a couple of words here. We have a group already, Friends of Morton Park, established in 2003. In fact, Mr. Mahoney has heard us before as we've come through here over the last few years. 2015 was a big year when a lot of the park management program came into play, limiting the cars, getting rid of the propane only, getting rid of the open fires, closing the park at 5 o'clock on the weekends, and, for the most part, it worked for a while. But what we've heard today has been the ongoing problem. The peripheral, not only is in the beach, this is what it cascades out toward Morton Park. And public safety is the one thing right now that they've stressed, and I want to stress also, because when they close the park with capacity, it just causes such a jam at the top of the street. And people who have disregard for anything that's not theirs, they want it to be theirs, doing all the things that the property. So we have in the past worked with, our small group has worked with the fire department, police department, environmental, board of selectmen, town manager, parks department, forestry. And we've all got together and we've come up with some plans. Now, some of the things we have changed, but there's more to do, and I also know that there's a limited amount that we can do. The park was created as public, and walk-ins is the issue, but walk-ins is the problem that may or may not be able to be resolved. So, and I also like to be, when was that meeting?
So I had suggested at 9 a.m. tomorrow, but I'm actually talking to the chief right now, and he wants to be available. Is it okay to move it to 11? Is that okay? Can we do 11 a.m.? Yes. Just so I can make sure the chief is available, so you can speak directly with the chief.
And that's going to be here, and it's going to be here.
Yeah, so if we can do 1100 tomorrow morning at Town Hall, that'd be great.
But on the where?
4th floor, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I just say one thing about?
I'm glad, because this is different.
Hello, hi, I'm Mary O'Brien, and I lived in Plymouth. I moved in 95 down to South Plymouth. I had a house. And 4 years ago, in August, I moved to Summer Reach, new development. And I love it there. For 4 years, everything has been fine. Now, during the summer months, you always know on the holidays or whatever, Morton Park would have someone right at the beginning that have the barricades there, either a police officer or one of the people that worked down there used to be there. When you made that rule of 50 cars, it was fine up until this weekend. Now, all of a sudden, over this past weekend, what happened in our development was Once everywhere was full, they started parking on Summer Street. Then they decided, well, let's go into Summer Reach. And they pulled their cars in, unloaded all their coolers, everything else. When they were told by, we were at the pool, when they were told they could not park here, there were words said to us, and I couldn't even repeat the words that were said. They left their cars there, so we called to have them towed. But again, this is now, for the 4 years I lived there, we never had a problem. But as I, and I heard about this it was going to be brought up at the meeting, so I came after work to tell you that it is a problem. And it is not a car problem, it is a people problem. And people, like they're saying, they're parking now down at the old Shaws. Now they think Summer Reach, they're pulling in little areas there, they can park there and walk across. So I think with the people problem, someone is going to get hurt, someone's going to get hit. We as residents, we walk around there, we don't have to be abused by people who are going there that probably don't even live anywhere in Plymouth, but they know, it's Morton Park, to be abused, to live in, I'm not going to be spoken to and be abused. I pay taxes. I have a parking sticker. I can go down there if I want, but I'm nervous. Kids are going to get hit. Like I walk my dog. I don't know. I get yelled at all the time by these kids or people going in there. So I think what has to, if you can, when you have your meeting, and unfortunately I would love to be there tomorrow, but I'm working, but I think it does need to be addressed. It's the people problem, per se, more than the car problem. Because even a year ago, the cars, maybe it wasn't that bad. I didn't notice because there was no one parking in our development. But now it has moved from Morton Park. Now it's into the development, and it's just going to, and like they said, it's going to get worse. It's going to be twice as bad this summer and people going in there. So it really needs to be nipped in the butt, before it gets out of hand.
Okay.
Again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, King Rudolph, 242 Summer Street. Numerous times, I've had to have, they stop their cars in my driveway, pull in my driveway, leave their cars there unattended. Side of the property is always full with cars. They're the most rude and ignorant people that they can be. I had one guy a couple of years back come right off of Summer Street, right into the side of my lawn, unload his car with 6 guys, and leave it there. I ended up chasing him down the road, and the guy said, "Oh, I'll be back in 5 minutes." I know he wasn't coming back in 5 minutes. I told him, you either move it now, or I talked to the police officer at the end of the road. That got his attention. But 4th of July is always notorious down there. I've been there 20 years, and it hasn't gotten much better. But they are right about the people problem. And the backup that these people that come in out of town from Morton Park onto Summer Street is going to cause an accident, a serious accident, because it's already backed up to the lights on Pilgrim Hill Road. And I know you guys are going to address it tomorrow. I'm not able to do that. I work for the school department, so I'll be in the school. But we need to really do something. Limit the people. No more walk-ins, just the cars. And that's all I have to say. It's just getting really bad and really dangerous. This weekend is going to be hell for us on the street.
Right.
We have to block our driveways off, our yards. I have 300 feet of frontage on my yard. I have to block that off so they don't park on it, or they don't throw stuff on it, or whatever I can do to stop it.
I completely understand.
So I hope you guys can help us out and get this thing resolved. Like I said, it's backed up from Morton Park and then goes right onto Summer Street, and it's just a very bad hazard for everybody.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just, if you limit to cars, just remember.
You have to go up to the podium.
When it's only limited to cars, well, what was happening a while ago, before they would drive their cars up to Shaw's, pick up a crew, bring them down to Morton Park, go back to Shaw's, get another crew, bring them down. So I don't know, if you limit to cars, then that car can't leave, because, well, yeah, maybe. But those, again, those two kids at the top are trying to say to the car, you can't get back in. It's
Right.
not good.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Hi, I'll keep this very quick. Amy DeCoste, I live at 9 Morton Park Road. We just bought our house actually last April, so we've been here just over a year. Purposely sought out this neighborhood. I was all set to offer on my house before I even saw the inside of it, purely based on the neighborhood and Morton Park. I, again, purposely was not looking at any houses that were on a double yellow line, because I have a small child. I have a 7-year-old boy, very active. Morton Park seemed like an awesome, amazing, quiet place to raise a child. I could not have him playing in the yard this weekend with cars, not exaggerating, going probably 50 to 60 miles an hour down a 15-mile-an-hour road. I know we've talked about it. We have some planning meetings tomorrow. I did just want to also address, though, and I know I can give some more information tomorrow when we do meet and in the subsequent meetings that we do have. I did work in a different town in Hanson as an assistant beach director for a while. We did there limit it to residents only, so I do have some ideas and suggestions I can, help offer the board if we are going down that route, or as we're looking to ways to limit, as my neighbors said, limit the cars, limit the people. So I'm open to sharing some of those suggestions.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Pat Small, I live on Little Pond Road, so I'm right down in the middle of Morton Park. We've been there for 3 years. My grandchildren the first year loved coming down to the beach. They won't come down anymore. It's just too loud, too crowded, too dirty, with the dirty diapers, and it breaks my heart because I'd like to have them come back down. So
Thank you.
We'll be there tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Everett? After Everett, we're taking a break, or else it's not going to be pretty. I'd like to say something. Okay.
Everett Malaguti, Chair of the Natural Resources and Coastal Beaches Committee. I would like to applaud all the neighbors that came out in regards to Morton Park, and I would like to state that I am saddened that I have not heard any of this until tonight. This will be a forefront of the committee endeavor, and if any of the neighbors that are here tonight would be interested, we still have on our committee an open seat for the Morton Park designee. It's been vacant for over 3 years, and I'm hoping that one of you would love to be on the committee so that we can have readily updated information on anything that happens there, as that has been lacking. I know the car problems sort of alleviated the situation for a few years, and then it became more biped instead of actually motorized. And I think that's where we're going to have to look at it in the future. And I forget your name, the one that was the beach director in Hanson. I would love to hear some of your insight of what actually happened for any program differentials. I know that the resident only is going to come up as a topic. I spoke, and I think Mr. Freeland knows me from the 2015 hearing for Morton Park, that's a very dicey thing because of legal statute for the actual description of how the park was left for the town. But I do think we can do some circumventing around that to make it more accessible, not just for the out-of-towners, but make it more respectful for the neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Harry, did you have something? Hold on. Okay.
All right. I'm going to address this more to the board, okay, than to the residents. Not to minimize what you're saying, but actually to highlight what you're saying. Okay. This is exactly what happened at White Horse Beach. Okay, and interestingly enough, I have always associated what happened to White Horse Beach over the last few years to the car ban in Morton Park, because it was almost exactly at the time that was put in place and things seemed to calm down there, that things got out of control in exactly the way all of you have described it at White Horse Beach. Okay, so, and that concept of the whack-a-mole nature of this was not lost on the board. and we set up the Beach and Pond Committee. I was wondering, may I make a request that the Beach and Pond Committee come and talk about this at the next meeting?
Sure, we'll have to contact, Stephen Hall is the chairman, and he is in the area of the ponds of Plymouth. So Chris, if you could reach out to Stephen, but I think tomorrow's meeting, and if I'm able to attend, Derek, I'll be more than happy to come down. But
Well, yeah, and
like I said,
the reason
yeah.
that, I think tomorrow's meeting is great. We have immediate concerns.
Right.
But the Beach and Pond Committee was set up to address these long-term, so that we stop playing whack-a-mole. And we need to do that. We need to move forward. The Beach and Pond Committee needs to do its thing. And, you know, I'd like to hear from them.
great, we'll
Okay.
put them on the
For
agenda.
for a longer-term solution to all
Right.
of this across Plymouth.
One of the things that, as Mr. Malaguti said, is the legalities of Morton Park. So it's difficult, like at White Horse Beach, we implemented, we're part of the beach sticker program. Now you can't park anywhere down there unless you have a beach sticker. So, and that helped because, I mean, we still get, people complaining that,
Can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
So they can't park in there. Are you having any peripheral properties people are walking through?
They cannot, well, they can walk, they can get,
Too
because
far to
it's,
walk, okay.
yeah, it's too far of a walk, but they were inundating the neighborhood, and there's no parking for White Horse Beach.
Correct.
So they were on all the
Yeah.
side streets. So now, even though, it was difficult to swallow at first that we have to pay to park in front of our houses, I don't think anybody would give it up.
Yeah, but, I mean, that's the nature of the beach and pond, is the
Right.
acknowledgement that we made a year ago that one size will not fit all. You know,
Right.
for instance, you can't require beach stickers for people parking in Shaw's.
Right.
Okay, I mean, so, but you could
That's a
require.
thought, Mr. Helm.
Yeah. Not, well, I'm not sure the owners of Shaw's would agree with that. And the owners of Shaw's are probably not aware that this is happening, so. But that's, I understand, immediate is important, but I also know, in my 1 year here, that long-term solutions are the best solutions.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And we'll get that, Chris, if you could reach out to Mr. Hall and put them on an agenda, an upcoming agenda. I think the next
you.
is the 19th. So, and in the meantime,
We'll talk with Mr. Brady.
yes,
We'll have to get a little innovative, but with all these brains and everybody having other ideas, we will figure it out. And we just
Absolutely.
Can't thank you enough. Thanks.
you're very welcome. And we're going to go and take a 5-minute break. All right, we're back. So now the next, yes, the dog park.
So,
Do you want do you need a public comment? Go ahead. Okay,
We don't have an egg timer like Randy did, you said.
no.
This don't work.
Steve Lyden, Visitors Service Board. I'd like to acknowledge two members that are no longer on our committee that served on the board for many years. It was Jan Yeager and Janet Young. They gave a lot of time and a lot of effort to this committee, and they are no longer serving on the committee, but I thought they should be recognized. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now Mr. Helm, the dog park.
okay, the dog park, or possibly parks. So just bottom line, we had a discussion here a few weeks ago. We put a deadline of people giving names, submitting names to be on the dog park committee. And I'm going to go through those. But just to give an overview to the board, in our work and our deliberations, we are going to be applying many of the same processes and group dynamics that we employed in the recent outdoor dining task force, which hopefully you all agree was successful. Part of this process is going to include examining successful dog park concepts, for instance, in Provincetown and Kingston. We'll also be examining less than successful attempts at it, because you can learn lots from unsuccessful attempts. For instance, Braintree has been at it for a number of years, and they still haven't figured it out. And we're also going to be examining our previous attempt here that many will remember. So that's just kind of an overview of what we're going to do. I'm going to be working with Mr. Badeau to reach out to all of the applicants. I'm going to give you a list of 23 names, and I'm going to suggest to the board that we appoint all of them. Okay, it's a large group, but we also know that not all of them will participate. A lot of really great names in here of people involved with animals, and it's pretty exciting, and also some really motivated residents. So I'm just going to name them all for the purposes of the board. And this is in no particular order. Ashley Shaw, Kim McCabe, Diane Walsh, Jody Volta, Michelle Newell, Eric Cohen, Pam Ranheim, Melissa Matizzi, Bob Cutting, Lori Silva, Lindsay Bascombe, Amy Pisano, Ellen Hardy, Scott Hokinson, Mandy Bolkin, Marilyn Ferguson, Brian McEachern, LaDonna Osborne, Michelle Kirker, Deborah Balboni, Matt Hennessy, Lynn Washburn, and Dr. Norm Stillman, along with Mary Ingermels. Also, we will be adding town administration personnel. We found that to be particularly helpful and led to the success of the outdoor dining. So as of now, Barry de Blasio, who had plenty of experience with our previous attempt at Dog Park and has lots of ideas, is going to be on it. I will be reaching out to the parks superintendent as well. So I would like to ask if somebody would move to name that group of people that I named to our dog park committee.
That's not a motion?
Well, I can make the motion, or I can ask somebody else to make it.
I'll second your motion.
Okay, I motion that we add the list of names that I read to the dog park committee.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Unanimous. Okay, so Chris will talk about it. We need to reach out, we're going to be reaching out to them and, communicating what they need to do prior to our first meeting, and also setting up a first meeting. Okay, thank you. Thanks for all your help in this, Chris.
Now, next is town-owned surplus discussion. Yeah, Brad?
Thank you, Mr. Cavaco. Just to review, the goal of tonight would be to go through, again, the 3 properties that we mentioned last time, and the board to vote to reaffirm all 3, 2 of the 3, 1 of the 3, again, to move forward with looking at the best future use of sale of it. So if you guys remember last week, you did already approve us to look and work with a commercial real estate agency to kind of look at a possible solution on that. There's been no determination on our end of what the best way to market this is. We may talk to a couple marketing firms, decide it's not the route we want to go. We'll report back to you. But again, to get an actual fair quote from someone, we really need to know what scope we're working with. So if it's only going to be 2 of the 3, 1 of the 3, or all 3, we want to be able to tell them that when we have that discussion with them, because I know the big one tonight will be 91 Long Pond Road. And if that gets taken off the table, it's kind of a game changer for some potentially companies we may be looking at and working with. So we would be looking for a motion, again, to either blanket all 3. You could take them all individually at 1. You guys can have a group discussion if you want to not bring any forward. So it opens to the board.
I have a question. So if we blanket all 3, and as we travel down this road and decide to pull one or the other out, is that an issue?
No, we can come back to the board at any given time. The process, again, this is just to give us the scope of what we could ask the marketing firm to look at. Then we'll determine what the best avenue to go down is. But again, to get a fair actual estimate of the price, we need the scope of how many properties we're looking at selling.
Well, I know that we've only named 3, and there are several others.
What are they?
Well, we have, I mean, we own a lot of property.
We do.
have
So if you guys
Symes
remember
House,
that I
we
mentioned
have-
last time, there's over 1,100 properties between tax title and just general land that we have right now to look at. The problem we're running into is a lot of these things, we still have unanswered questions in terms of what conservation areas, what are restrictions on that. The tax title, we want to do a lot more research on to figure out. There's been some notes floating around that there's restrictions on when we resell tax title property about there being a no dwellings added on. So we want to do a little bit more fact finding before we come to the board on that. But there is an Excel sheet I have that I'm working on that it's a little bit tough. And Mr. Hellman and I have started looking at it. And a lot of the problem we run into is there's no street number for a lot of addresses. So we just have the parcel ID. We then have to look at it. And that list is over 400 plus properties. So I personally could give you guys something, but I'd rather potentially a group to look at this. So I know, Mr. Helm, you raised your hand.
Right here. Just to go off of the 3 properties, I'm going to make a suggestion. Having sat with that list for many hours over the recent weekend, headed into special town meeting, and I have confirmed with Mr. Brothers that that Excel spreadsheet is our town working document of the properties that we own, and I will tell you, it is dreadful. It is woeful. It is woefully inadequate. There are no descriptors. There are no street numbers on many properties. Brad and I were looking at properties. I actually had to go and drive to one to determine whether or what it was. Okay? There was nothing on there that indicated that it was totally unbuildable wetland. So we talked to Lee Hartman about it. He had to do investigation on it. We talked about it for an hour, and then I went and had to look at it. This Excel spreadsheet is really, really sad that the properties we own, okay, that are not in a workable spreadsheet that people can look at and make relatively quick determinations. And what I would like to suggest, is that I know I get accused of this all the time. I think we need a task force. No, because it's going to need to involve Joe Young. It's going to need to involve some residents. Take a look at the spreadsheet and try to figure out anything from that.
So I'm wondering, Brad, and I know that you've been dealing with like marketing and real estate companies, is there any organization, or is this something that maybe we could, even if it's a temp position or something like that, that we could concentrate on verifying all these properties and creating a document that's a usable document for not only the town, but for as we move through this process. So I'm thinking if it's a marketing real estate agent, or if it's, somebody in our assessor's department, that we give them a special project. Is that something that, you think that we should be able to venture down? Or if there's an organization that has done this type of research, could we, find out what it would cost to do it again for us?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've already talked to the treasurer collector about that as well. And they said, I don't know if they have a summer intern or summer helper, but they said that was going to be part of their assignment. But that still doesn't get us to the worksheet we really want. There's only so much capacity that person will have to input something. So we can definitely look at companies. We can talk to treasurer collector about are we better off hiring an additional summer help that specifically just handles this project?
Right.
So it's all avenues we can look at, absolutely.
Okay.
But I think the goal of this whole process should be to get a workable worksheet. That
Absolutely.
when this comes up 20 years down the road, we can look at it and say, these are the definitions, these are the notes, just the detail behind all the properties.
Absolutely.
Because it's a tough spreadsheet to go through when you look at 1,100 lines of just addresses and no.
Stuff.
Exactly. There's a lot going on in it.
Okay. Do board members have any comments of whether we put it out as a group to a marketing firm and see what that does?
I'd like to put it out and see what they say, and then we can decide if we want to go further with it.
Will part of that be them telling us how much this is going to cost us? Because they're not going to do it for free. This is
Right.
Are you talking about the list?
Or the
That's not what I'm
land.
talking about. I'm
So,
talking about the three
I think
properties.
we just merged two conversations.
Right, yeah.
So, Mr. Quinto, are you referring to specifically this project, this task to get this spreadsheet up and running and updated?
No, I'm referring to the three properties.
As soon as you guys vote on that, we can start looking at on our end, and we'll bring back to you what we
Okay.
feel is the most appropriate method to dispose of the property.
Perfect.
Wish of the board? Do you need a motion?
Oh,
Uh,
Mr. Mahoney.
Oops, sorry, John.
So, it's okay. So we were here 7 nights ago, and Article 1 didn't pass. So one or two of these properties may or may not be an option with respect to meeting the local fire department's needs. I don't know that. So I was hoping, certainly the North Plymouth Fire Station, absolutely put that one out to bid, and let's see what we can get for that. Even if it's minimal, it's just best that we don't have to deal with that building anymore, and let's be done with it. But in a perfect world, and I know that even if we vote to put these out, some sort of RFP or, advertising that they're available, we can always pull one, two, or all three of them back. But I'd prefer to see Chief Foley move forward in a process where I know he's got some data coming in September or October, where he's given a few months, and once he has that data, he comes into the board, makes a presentation, God willing, before Christmas or Thanksgiving, and says, location A for a new Station 1, pros and cons. Location B, pros and cons, C and D, and then, we have this discussion with respect to what we're trying to do here, and I just think that he needs to be able to step back with no pressure on him and come forward, like I said, in a few months and make that presentation. And there's no silver bullet out there, but I don't want to divest ourselves of one or two options and have to force a new Station 1 into a less, attractive property.
Well, are you saying that, South Meadow Road is obviously not an option. The North Plymouth Fire Station is not an option. And are you saying that the Long Pond Road, 91 Long Pond Road, is an option?
I'm saying that I'm not an expert on location analysis and the needs of this current fire department, and I just think that maybe that had, a year or two ago, whenever that went to town meeting, it wasn't properly or fully vetted. And I think Chief Foley, I think we owe it to him and the taxpayers to allow him to come to us and say, you know what, I've looked at this from top to bottom, the square footage of the lot, the location, the current infrastructure, and just tell us why it really doesn't meet what the community's needs are. I don't want to force anything anywhere, but I don't have that, I don't possess that skill set to sit here and tell you that it is or is not meets our criteria.
Derek, wasn't it stated that we need 4 acres for a fire station headquarters?
I think ideally that's what the chief would want, 4 to 5 acres. Anything smaller than 4 to 5 acres, he suggests that we have to build up. because he wouldn't have the acreage to build a single-story fire station.
Madam Chairwoman?
Yes, go ahead, Charlie.
So Betty, I think, to what John is saying, I think a conversation I had with Neil, and I'm sure other people might have too, is I think he wants to hold off on that a little bit, because he still wants to take a look. He needs a fire station. But my feeling on that is, let's, town meeting has already denied it once. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not really too confident in town meeting right now as far as approving anything, so. But I think Neil would like us to hold on to that property until he can really study it closely. Because he thinks he may be able to work with us. But in the meantime, I think we should put it out, together, as Brad already said, we can take it off the table. If we think we can use it, we can always take it off the table. So I think we move forward and at least get what the value of it is. And then if Neil can convince town meeting that that's the location, then maybe we pull that off the table and we go for it. So, and Brad, you said we can do that, right?
Correct. Anytime you put an IFB or an RFP, the board has full control to cancel all bids at any given time. And that process is going to take a 2-month period anyway, right off the bat, just to get a vendor.
So it can work out for everybody. We can get what it's worth, and Neil can also, if he can work with that, with that road being taken, if he can work the station in there, and then hopefully, the town meeting can vet this, so they have enough time we give them enough time to go over it, and maybe they'll approve it this time if that's the right piece of land. But I wouldn't hold off. I would let's get moving on this, because if we're going to sell it, if that's what it turns out we don't need it, then we should sell it as soon as we can. That's my feeling. So.
I actually agree. If we put the 3 properties out, we're going to know what each are worth. Like you said, it's going to be a couple months anyway, and that's a couple more months of information that we could have. So I agree. I think we should put it all out there. Let this marketing team do what it is that they're going to do, and then come back to us, and we'll be able to make decisions then.
So if that's the case, we would need a motion, and I'd like all 3 addresses just to be outlined in the motion as well. So I can go over those if you need them.
Please.
Yep. It's 0 Spooner Street, 91 Long Pond Road, and 253 South Meadow Road.
I'd like to, go ahead.
I was going to move that as presented.
Second.
I'll second.
Discussion? John?
All right, so the first step is you're going to get a cost. There's no cost yet associated with securing the company that would market the 3 of them, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so is that walk us
Yes.
through the steps here.
So today was important because if you vote on this motion, that gives me a broader scope to go forward with. Because if I only went forward with 2 of the properties or 1 of the properties, you're not going to attract as many larger commercial real estate firms that you will have with these 3. Now, if the board does decide to pull out at any given time of the largest one that I think we're going to get the most value for, that may detract some people from actually bidding that. But we'll know that as this process continues. So without having this vote, I can't go forward to the companies and say, these are 3 properties we're looking at. I can only go forward with the 2. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Harry?
Well, do we feel that engaging a marketing company, a commercial real estate firm, under the statement that there are 3 properties and the real crown jewel, let's call it, of the three is one that we may just withdraw. Is that disingenuous? Is that good business practice? I mean, being in real estate, I would tell you that I would not be pleased that, it was indicated to me that, there's these two other pieces of property. One of them's pretty good, South Meadow. Spooner is impacted and difficult, but 2.13 acres in prime commercial land on Long Pond Road is clearly the most valuable. Are we, do you feel that that would be disingenuous?
If it wasn't presented up front, but I have every intention of giving them the outline of what the board
Okay.
discussed today.
All right.
And we can also, and that's another thing too, is that you can look at the flip side of that coin, because there'll probably be more than just those three properties once we figure out, what we're going to do. So,
Madam Chair?
yes.
I mean, to cut you, but also, Mary, what realtor do you know that's gonna turn a listing down? I mean,
I don't know,
business-
Charlie,
don't-
Charlie,
What's that?
I agree. No realtor is going to turn a listing down, but, understand that, unless, as Brad has indicated, he's going to make sure they understand that thinking that you're working with a client on three properties and then finding out that, well, we have other ideas about one of the properties, it's, you may have enticed a major commercial real estate firm into being involved and then turned it into something that they would not have been interested in. You do run that risk.
Like any CMA, you go in and, we may not like the price that they think they can get for it. That might be a reason why we pull something off the table.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
no,
there's reasons.
Charlie,
It doesn't
Charlie.
cost anything to have a market analysis of the properties. And being disingenuous, I mean, if we gave them one building, I don't think they're gonna turn it down. I mean, a property's a property. It's a potential sale for them. So I don't see where there's any problem with doing what we're telling them we have three, and then we might, if the fire department feels that we can put a station there, if we think we can get it through town meeting, then we pull it. We pull it off the table. We don't put it, we don't list it.
Right,
I mean,
and that's
my-
the
I
explanation.
don't, yeah.
That's
So,
what Brad's going to explain to them, so.
yeah.
So there's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? So 4 in favor, 1 opposed. All right.
Who's opposed?
What's that?
Who's opposed?
I didn't support it, Charlie.
Okay, no, 'cause I can't see you.
Yeah, no, it's okay, yeah. No, I know.
Okay. So, next we have committee liaison reorganization. Oh. I already checked you off.
I'll go quick.
All right.
So just a couple quick updates. The ongoing bulkhead project will be completed this week. I know I talked a lot about that in the past month or so. You may have noticed that the parking spaces have opened this past week. So as of this week, they'll just be removing the Connex container and then taking care of any final punch list items. In addition, staying in this area, the gangway in the front of the maritime facility is slated to be completed by the end of this week as well. Upon completion of the gangway, the harbor master boats will then be relocated to the floats connected to this new gangway. With the assistance of approximately $500,000 of Mass DOT funds, the town is now actively repairing and replacing sidewalks throughout the town, so you'll see a lot of active construction over the course of the next 4 to 6 weeks. In addition, today, the state announced a $100,000 trail grant, which was awarded to the town. This is the project that was funded by CPC a couple years back to design the completion of the rail trail from Nelson Park to Cottage. Specifically, these funds will be used to complete the crossing at Nelson and Lothrop Streets and then finish the final paving and grade of the trail. We just got word of this today, so within the next 2 days, we hope to do a press release just to announce that townwide. And then, as we touched on a little bit earlier today, starting this weekend, parking control at White Horse Beach will be conducted by a private firm. Mr. Brothers has been working with Chief Flynn, our procurement officer, to develop a request for quotes in order to be ready for the 4th of July weekend. As you would imagine, the police department will continue to patrol the beach per their usual operations. In the month of June, the IT Help Desk has assisted 190 citizens apply for either beach or transfer station permits. Just yesterday alone, the Help Desk assisted 29 citizens, which is currently our high water mark with the Help Desk. You may have noticed on news and announcements yesterday that in mid-June, evidence of beach leaf disease, also known as BLD, has been found infecting our beach trees, specifically in the areas of Morton Park and Burial Hill. Our staff, working with local tree experts, arborists, a licensed pesticide specialist, and UMass Amherst Extension pathologists, are working together over the next 6 months in order to treat these trees in hopes of preserving them in the future. And then I just want to talk a little bit about some of the new staff that's coming on board, since we're not going to be meeting again until July 19th. You all met last week at the special town meeting, Kelly McElrath. So she will be coming. She begins on July 14th. She is coming with 22 years' experience as a town clerk, currently working in the town of Upton. She was interviewed by a 4-person panel made of Anna Mesner, our current acting town clerk, Larry Pizer, our assistant to the town clerk, and then Jackie Gurney from Human Resources, and they all unanimously selected Kelly McElrath as our town clerk. And then you will be seeing a notice from me tomorrow regarding Matt Cardillo. Matt right now is our assistant airport manager. He was interviewed by Jonathan Beater, Brad, Silvio, our HR director, and then 2 members from the Airport Commission. This interview panel interviewed Mr. Cardillo and one other, and they have unanimously selected Mr. Cardillo to replace Tom Marr, who, as you all know, retired last Thursday after 27 years of service to this town. So we expect Matt to do great things moving the airport forward. And in addition to that, Mark Rail has been selected as a new climate resiliency officer. Mark comes, so he'll begin on July 5th, and he comes as the legislative director from Mass Fish and Game. So again, a lot of good experience coming from the state level that he's going to bring to bear here in town. And then Anthony Senesi is going to be taking Mr. Badeau's position. I think, Chris, you've been sitting in this position for 6 years, maybe? 7 years. So Anthony will start as well on July 5th. He is now working for the town of Weston. He's been working there, and then he previously worked for the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. So on top of Chris's additional duties, as I pointed out in the past, Anthony's going to take on a larger communications role here in town. But I think this is Chris's last date and day, this meeting in this seat. So I want to thank Chris for 7 years of service and supporting the select board during that time. So you've done great work, Chris, and I'm sure we all appreciate that work.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
And then my last PSA, I can't talk enough about this, is graffiti. We had Chief Flynn and I met this morning, and he showed me one of our digital signboards that was tagged most recently down at White Horse Beach. So now we have to have that repaired, unfortunately. So again, it's something that I know our police department is trying to identify who's doing this tagging and graffiti. But I just wanted to just point out that for private property, and Lee Hartman brought this to my attention today, if folks have graffiti on their private property, they can contact the Planning and Community Development Office at 508-322-3320. I'll say it again, 508-322-3320. So we have a program in place that'll help private property owners remove the graffiti. Again, this is another problem that we're trying to resolve. We think it's going to take a few months, potentially have to go to fall town meeting with new bylaw changes in order to try to prevent future tagging. So more work to be done on that effort. Pending any questions, that's all I have for this evening.
I have just a quick question. So that gangway is supposed to be in down at the harbor, the harbor master boats will be moved. Is there room for Marine One down there?
That's a great question. I can follow up on that. I know that the Chief Flynn is hoping to get Marine One in the water as soon as possible. But I can follow up if there'll be space over there. I can tell you, I talked to David Gould today, and again, expecting the gangway to be complete before the 4th of July, and all the harbor master boats would be on those floats over there. So, but I definitely follow up to ensure we can find space for the law
Great.
enforcement boat.
Okay. John?
Derek, I just want to extend my congratulations to the new town clerk, and obviously, I think Mr. Cardillo out there at the airport. How long has he been out there underneath Mr. Marr?
I believe about 6 years. Brad says about 6 years now.
And obviously, prior to Plymouth, came from another airport where he had more experience, or did he just start?
I'd have to double check his background. I know that he's got over 10 years' experience in the aviation industry, and that includes his time working in Plymouth. He began in Plymouth in 2015. It says that he worked at Mass DOT Aeronautics as well at some point in his career.
Okay.
So we did want to have folks from the Airport Commission sit on this. They've been working certainly with Tom Marr for a long time and Matt, and so we thought it was important for them to have input. And again, this was a unanimous selection with the Airport Commission heavily involved.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we go to the committee liaison designee, board designees. So obviously, we are replacing Selectman Flaherty's, his appointments or his liaison duties, but there are also a couple of changes that I know board members are interested in making. So I'll tell you that as the chairman, I have found it difficult to attend some of the meetings that I am liaison to. So I'm wondering if there is, plus I have an issue with one of them, the Capital Improvement Committee. I really believe that our organization should take what they do for us verbatim. And I see that, I didn't see that happening the last time. We were in there all day. There were things brought to town meeting that were ranked the absolute last. And I just think it's a disservice to these folks that, do what they do with their time in the Capital Improvement Committee. And I'm not apt to spend all day trying to work something out and then it's just ignored. It's, like I said, I feel it's a disservice to this group. So I do not care to be involved in the CIC. So if anyone else wants the CIC.
When do they typically meet? Is that during the day or in the evening?
Yeah, it's during the day.
All right, so.
It's a full-day affair.
It's a full day affair.
What, just once a year?
Yeah,
Oh, just once a year? Okay.
Twice.
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 Town
For
meetings.
each
Yeah.
town meeting.
Sure, I could try it.
Okay. And what about community preservation? Anybody interested?
Yeah, if nobody else wants it, I'll take it.
Okay. And Harry, you're with the Council on Aging. Would you like to stay there?
Absolutely.
Okay. Distinguished Visitors Committee.
Absolutely.
Okay. GATRA Advisory Board. Now, I have never heard anything about the GATRA Advisory Board. And these, also these appointments can be staff or selectmen. So,
Yeah, if I could jump in here, I did receive a phone call from the manager of GATRA. We actually were playing phone tag, and we didn't have a chance to talk, but they did state that they were looking for the select board designee, knowing that Patrick's no longer on the committee. I have to get clarity if they expect the town manager to be a part of that advisory board in addition to, or if the board can just designate the town manager. In any case, it sounds like I'm going to be there anyways.
perfect. So when you find, you can be there for now, and then when you find that out, just let us know.
Okay.
And if it is problematic, I would do that, because the GATRA will be called upon as we work on transportation for the aspect of aging and dementia, friendly certification.
Right.
Let me know.
Yeah.
I just want to ask Mr. Helm a quick off-topic question. Harry, Distinguished Visitors Committee, is there a Japanese delegation coming over this summer?
No, it is not. I don't believe it's the summer. I think it's the fall.
Oh, okay, so that's getting back.
Yeah, that is getting back, and the group is trying to determine for what would be the best timing, because they want to, I'm not exactly sure what the components that they are looking for that we would want to work our best timing for.
Right, and you'll keep us in the loop on what's going on and anything that they need, so we can.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The Harbor Committee, I'll stay with the Harbor Committee. Insurance Advisory. Mr. Quintal.
Yeah, I think they meet during the day, right?
Yeah. The MBTA Advisory Board is Lee Hartman. The Metropolitan Planning is Lee Hartman. Natural Resources and Coastal Beaches is myself. And I can stay with that. Handicap. John, do you still want handicap?
Yes, I can stay there. I just, not sure how the process is, Chris. I know, I've communicated with the vice chair, Pine Dubois. She's in communication with the state. I just, whatever we need to do to take me out of that slot, which I believe was the old Nuclear Matters Committee, and just make me the designee from this board. You follow me? Yes. I don't know what that protocol is, and she's looking into it, so.
No Place for Hate.
I'd like to handle that.
Okay. Michelle Brady is Old Colony Services. Old Colony Transportation is Sheila Scarzi. PAC TV is Charlie Bletza. You all set with that, Charlie? Charlie?
I was muted, sorry, yeah, I'm all set with that.
Okay. And then the Plymouth 400, we don't have the Plymouth
I don't think it
400
exists.
anymore. So let's get rid of that altogether.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's resolved, well, what's the license plates? And where does that income go? Does anybody know?
I can look into that.
I mean, can you just ask? I mean, that's,
Sure.
okay.
I'm sure Michelle Pecoraro has an answer.
Right. So the Plymouth County Advisory Board, Mr. Quintal, you're still on that. Plymouth Regional Economic Development,
I'm good.
okay. Harry. Roads Advisory, Charlie,
Yes.
okay. And then the South Shore Community Action Council.
During the day or evening or?
It's during the day. Do you want to try that, Charlie?
Yeah, I can try that. That's, they're right across the street from the court.
Right.
So if I ever go back to work, that might, even if it was day, I could probably see both.
Right,
You know, if we-
great.
Yeah, but, yeah, I'd like to, that's a good move, so I'd like to do that.
Chris, will you update that and send it out to the board, please? For your last action. Okay, now we're on to select board, open discussion, new business, letters, old business. Anyone?
I have new business.
Sure.
I'd like to know the status on the Symes house. I don't know if we could get them in front of us just to see, you know, what's going on at the Symes house, you know, whether it's profitable, whether it's losing money. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what they do there. So, you know, so I'd like to just get some information from them. I know we talked about doing some things possibly with that building, but I think if we could get, was it Donna that's running it?
Yeah, yep.
In that, just to find out where, you know, where they're going with that and what they're doing up there, so.
Can we get them on the agenda for the 19th?
Yeah, we can do that. I do have a meeting scheduled with Ms. Curtin this coming Thursday at 11:30 a.m. over at the Symes House. They reached out, they wanted to talk about their existing programs, so I thought it would be good for me to go down there. I haven't been down there in 5 years, so.
Is their contract up? Is their contract up?
I believe their lease has expired, correct?
Oh, okay.
So they're gonna have to go before us anyway.
Right.
Right.
The leases, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about, I know we've talked about putting, you know, possibly putting like a town hall annex, the library, or some things thrown out there, but, so I think it'd be good if they came before us and we could ask some questions of them.
Okay. Anybody else? You?
I just brought it up as what I'm seeing around the town, when the town puts a conservation restriction on a piece of land, whether it's CPC or however it might be funded. And I know there's different people that do it, and it's very involved. But my question is, as a community, I think we're having a problem like moving utilities such as like water, for example. And the reason we are is because they have conservation restrictions, and I'm being told, or I've been told, and I don't know if it's true, that you can have easements with conservation restrictions to move utilities underground. So I would like to get some information on that if we can, Derek, when you have a chance, and see what the recommendations might be. Just for that. It doesn't probably have to be on every one, but the ones that are in the critical areas, you know, where you're having trouble moving water from one spot to another, which you'll probably be hearing about pretty soon.
If I could ask, just for clarity, are you asking to understand the process to put a utility easement on a piece of property that already has a conservation restriction?
Yes.
Okay.
In other words, in the past, the town is, and at no one's fault, has done that. And then we're, you know, in conversations I'm having with people from moving water from one area of town to another, they, you know, they would be able to do it underground, but they can't do it because it's conservation restrictions unless it states that. So I just think it needs to be brought to the town's attention as they're doing the conservation restrictions moving forward, that they need to, check with, the people in town hall, like JB or the water department, and see if there might be a need for that. If there is, then we have that option, but if it's not there, we really don't. You can undo it, but it's gonna take well, that's what I don't know, so.
Right.
That's what I'd like to find out, some kind of information. It doesn't have to be next week, but,
We'll follow up.
all right.
Okay. And is there any more public comment? No? All right, now we have license and.
Madam Chairman, I'm sorry, I must have missed the letters. I got, no, there was a letter sent to me from, I believe it's Roundtree, the Hyundai dealership, and they request to come before the Board of Selectmen, I believe. That's basically what it said, right, Chris? Yes. Yeah, so on a future docket, if we can please do that. It doesn't have to be next, but
Yep,
see what they'd want to talk about.
sure.
That's it, I'm sorry, thank you.
Oh, no problem. So we have, if there are no questions, we have licenses and administrative notes. If we could move both as one each. Oh, what?
On the administrative notes, number 10, we'd like to withdraw that for this meeting here. Yeah.
And
Please.
I'll abstain on the number one, the
You want
minutes.
Okay. You're withdrawing the 15-day,
Yes.
okay. Okay,
So what do you want, a motion to move the licenses as a whole?
yes.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now the same for administrative notes. If there are no questions, looking for a motion to move as a group.
So moved.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Mahoney, seconded by Mr. Blitzer.
With the change that he said, and the change that.
Right.
Right.
So next is committee liaison designee.
We need to vote on that.
No, we did the reorg, now this is where you would update on of your committees.
But we didn't vote on the motion to the administrative notes.
Yeah, we did. We did.
We did vote.
Yeah, minus the 10. Yeah, we did.
There was a motion by John
Mhm.
and seconded by Charlie at the end.
Okay.
What was it voted on? Was it voted on to move them? We had a motion, we had a second. Was there a vote?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I thought there was.
I thought so, 5-0.
Well,
John
I
abstained.
thought the first vote was just the licenses.
Yeah.
Right, Harry?
Yes.
Yes, correct,
Vote for the admin.
correct. But then the administrative notes were moved and
It wasn't
seconded.
voted on. You're right.
Correct.
It wasn't voted on.
All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. So committee liaison designee updates? None?
Nope.
Before we adjourn, just to let people know that our next meeting is July 19th.
If I could just, before we do adjourn, I talked to our finance director today, and the last day for year-end transfers would be July 12th. So it still remains to be seen whether or not we need to do year-end transfers, but there may be a possibility we'd have to convene virtually for about 30 minutes just to do some year-end transfers.
Okay.
And that would be July 12th.
July 12th, and that would be virtual if we have to.
That's correct.
Okay, perfect.
Okey-dokey.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Everyone have a great 4th of July and be safe.
Absolutely.